So that's why we talked about what the idea here was. And that is to take the long, take it if it bumps back up. It did not break the 50 period. We talked about getting some out. Obviously, at the end of the day, it breaks. So there it goes. Peloton just continues its direction to the downside. We've got a big win here with Intel. We wish we still had AMD, but we don't. So we're not going to worry too much about that, as that's trying to break the low as well. Congratulations, anybody that took the trade that I should have. I mean, it went right up there into the 200 period. Like, I don't even know what I was doing there. But that's a great trade. Now you're $2 in the money. Congratulations, or $2 in the money. And I know a lot of you have that. So congratulations. I saw some of you on the chat. That's what it's all about. Me and this guy are coming back in just a couple hours. But for right now, you're going to have Sharif and Adara. And it's the Midday Show. Congratulations on another great show, Obi. Back over to those guys.
Likewise.
Ciao.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara, and I am Sharif. And as per usual, we're going to wait for everyone to migrate on over, but we already have some committed souls in the chat. We got Soul Akeem, there you go, a little on the nose there. The Hayes Records, Crazy Stitch Lady, Vin, obviously, Bears versus Bulls. Futures Trader Extraordinaire, we got Dad Trader, baby, Fox, Sebastian, we got Mateus Lane, Blue Arrow, and then it's moving too fast. We got Raj, we got Frank Jones, Hans Beer, there we go. We got Joe, we got Jakob, we got Ronald, we got 1John19, D Kennedy, and then Pratham, Aaron and Joanna Brewster, I love that share profile. For Profit, the Piper, Zion Lala, he's there as well, and then you can. And then Old Man Hands? No. That's fantastic. We got a troll in the chat. We got Old Man Hands in the chat. Oh my God,
actually?
That's absolutely fantastic. Shout out to you. Maybe we'll see Sean's Sticky Note or Sharif's mom. There's a plethora of different accounts that are hilarious that come into the chat. Shout out to you. Yes, big Kyle Burdett. Dump it, baby, dump it. I'm trailing my massive winner. Shout out to you, Kyle. The Perma Bear, big Kyle Burdett, taking this market south off that 17.371 rejection on the future, all the way back down, clearing 17.3, barely holding up at that 17.2 2/3. I'm going to get to my trade here on AAPL real quick. Before we start the final day on gaps today, guys, we are talking about common gaps. Believe it or not, it's the most common type of gap, and they're not usually indicative of market trend, but they just happen here, there, and everywhere. Let's get to this Apple trade real quick. Here's what I saw on AAPL that caused me to get into this short. Now, look at these candles up here. These are the three candles that really tip the balance for me. This is what I call the wick shimmy dance on an equity, right? We break through that 186. That also happens to be the pivot. And then we have these topping tail candles. When have we talked about topping tail candles? Well, just go back to the week on candlestick patterns. Topping tail candles are areas where buyers are encountering major areas of resistance, or shorts are instituting their positions at that level, saying, no, you don't. You're going to go right back down. And that's what I really liked about this candle, these candles over here. And then we had the break of 186, took that bad boy short, 185, mid-90s. But here's the issue. And this is what Obi was pointing out. He's like, Apple is right back into VWAP. Yes, and as soon as Adara sat down, I said, I'm worried about this 1/3 level, 185 and 1/3. That's where VWAP is. Apple, even though it's only up 0.2% on the day, has been relatively strong as a chart pattern when you compare Apple's current chart pattern to some of the other Mag 7 names on the day. So I was feeling, we definitely may get support in and around this level at VWAP. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, what are we getting right now? A nice bounce off that 1/3 into 2/3. So we're going to have to pack our patience before we wet our beak again. And this is a trade that I've had so far. Let me zoom in here so you guys can have a look. There's the short through the break, and then it's been beak wetting central. But the thing is, if this comes into my level, I will not get out. I'm going to actually want a break of 186, and I'm actually going to give it a buffer of 5 pennies. So 186.05 is where I'm going to have my short. I'm going to try to pack my patience here for a possible dead cat bounce and a flat bottom break through that VWAP area. I've already got a beak wetter set up at the 1/5 area, 185.20-ish. So if we can make our way back down into the lows on this little descent over here, then I'll wet my beak. But my stop is going to get adjusted from the top end. So initially, obviously, I got in short here. My stop would be the top end of the range, because if it makes a new high, I know my trade is invalid right away. So I've got to adjust my stop now into the break of 186, because that's where I want to see it hold up. Can't really break that whole dollar again. If it does, that's going to be the end of my trade. So when I send it back to Adair, I'm going to make that adjustment from that 186 1/3 stop to just essentially a little bit above 186. But Apple showing strength, guys. No question about it. Bouncing off VWAP, 2 green candles, 2 5-minute green candles in a row, and right back up we go into the $0.75 dollar. Adira, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, great trade. Congrats on taking a bite out of the apple ahead of earnings tonight. I have one trade, and I say that with so much hesitance because Fat Finger Central over here. I meant to punch long, but because I've been so short lately, I punched short. And it wasn't even like I slipped with which finger it was. I legitimately was like, I'm entering this position, and then decisively press the wrong key. So again, you know, I really have to proofread these trades. I say this all the time, and I never learn, and it's gonna be, you know, that's gonna be my New Year's resolution a month late here as we start February. But yeah, I really am interested. So basically what happened is I did go short accidentally. We spiked up for a little bit, then we fell, and I took 5 cents, and I was like, I got out, right? Because I didn't spend very long on this trade. I would have just punched out immediately, but I was like, you know what? Give it a couple cents here. There's a scintilla of paper pennies made here. But yeah, just kind of trying to make the most out of a sketchy situation. However, NVIDIA, I still like this bottom of the 618 and some change. And I think that this 620 chop and churn is going to continue to be interesting here for me. Also, Zion Lala asking about QCOM, speaking of chips. Great earnings, stock down. Any insight, por favor? Yeah, so my insight, okay, also, I want to talk about this chart for a second, too. 141, double bottom, a slightly higher low. But this Apple. Top at this, out of Apple?
Yeah, it broke through. So we call a spade, right? Yeah. 186 take, sorry, just want to let
No, it's okay. Yeah, thank you for the update there. And congrats on those little beak letters along the way to the downside.
I'll take them.
There you go. QCOM, yeah, I think this top at this 143.20-ish area is going to be something I'm watching for sure. I think this one might have a coveted, I don't know how coveted, but it might have a spot on my side charts. And I think, because like, I think if we break above this top, especially with these lower highs, or sorry, higher lows after that 141 area, I'm going to keep an eye on that. In terms of earning insights though, because I think that was what you're referring to, I do have one that I think might have contributed to this move down. And I'm going to pull up the exact number, but it has to do with a drop in its Internet of Things revenue. That would be my big thing I noticed here. 32% lower Internet of Things year over year, 32% drop. To me, that's pretty significant. 31% increase in automotive, 16% increase in handsets. Only drop is Internet of Things and down 32%. So that to me, based on this earnings report, that would be my one thing that really stands out here. So I think, yeah, that if you want insight there, that's the best insight I can provide. I'm not an analyst. I would say, like, look into other things. This one also got a couple downgrades as well, including Citigroup. So I would be, like, cognizant of that. But in terms of pure earnings report-related weakness, that Internet of Things is rough. That would be that's my take on that. And that could, for me, could be one of the things impacting this stock right now.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be honest here. Let's see if there's anything else here. Hans Beer saying, let the scalpulation begin. Well, I hope so. Thank you so much for the shout out there. We scalped out of that sketchy NVIDIA situation, so pretty proud of that. Tesla doing something over here. I haven't decided what it's doing yet, but like we talked about how wicks can mean different things last week on Candlestick Week. What the heck is what in the sweet heck is Tesla doing here? We have this sort of a bottom of that 184 and 65-ish area, and then we keep having these wicks up to 185, sellers overwhelming buyers. So I'm really going to wait and see what Tesla does here, but I will say this 184 area has a place in my heart, or at least in my mind, if not my heart. Main thing I'm looking at right now is the Tesla and NVIDIA around that 620, because if I can get a decent range traded out of that 619 to 620, as risky as that might sound, might take that with a small position if I have some confirmation or some confluence there. Shout out to Obi doing a great job in the morning show there. So we will always shout out confluence where and when we see it, because that's what we do over here. Also, one more, Nova Nordisk. Oh, Tesla moving up. Okay, Tesla, I'm gonna look at you in a second. But yeah, Novo Nordisk, this VWAP bounce kind of interesting. This double top worries me a little bit, but I could just take it range up to that 114.40 because I don't like the extent to which this seems like a ceiling. But like, again, higher lows. I wouldn't say flat top break because we're down on the day, but I do like that VWAP bounce. I might get involved in this from
Sounds
a range
good.
basis.
I know how you love your GLP-1 makers.
For some reason.
Mademoiselle Lily, Novo Nordisk. They're as pro GLP-1 trading.
For some reason, yeah.
Yeah, whatever,
There we
who
go.
cares? Whatever,
Thank you.
whatever floats your boat, baby. All right, let's get down to work, ladies and gents. Ram chart. Ram's like in the chat, she's like, we need a Ram chart user. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, Ram needs to be represented. She's displeased with that last comment. All right, guys, let's get down to work. Characteristics. We're going to talk first about what are common gaps. So to recap, Monday, we talked about initiation gaps. Tuesday, we talked about continuation. And yesterday, we talked about exhaustion. Those are the pattern continuation or reversal gaps. Today, we're going to talk about common gaps. They're neither continuations nor reversals. They just exist. You know, they don't really signify much other than regular price action within an instrument, okay? So common gaps are fundamental patterns in technical analysis that traders often encounter. Unlike other types of gaps, common gaps don't necessarily signal a significant change in market sentiment, or they don't indicate anything specific or indicate a specific catalyst. Understanding common gaps is crucial for traders seeking to distinguish between routine price fluctuations and the more meaningful price movements that are reflected with the other types of gaps that we talked about. So a definition essentially of the common gap is it also can be called an area pattern, a trading gap. Typically, they occur in the absence of any specific news or events. So they are catalystless. Is that a word?
We'll call it catalyst.
Wow, I like that. Catalysts. Yeah, so they lack a catalyst, guys. And typically you see them when there is really no news or justification for that big move up, okay? These gaps are a result of regular market movements and can be seen as a natural part of the price history, okay? Price discovery, excuse me. So that is what the definition of a common gap is. Some characteristics of common gaps is one, I just mentioned, they lack a catalyst. Oftentimes, common gaps occur without a particular event or news trigger. They represent gaps in price caused by regular market activity. So when you see a gap and then there's no attached or there's no news catalyst to go along with it, that should be your first little clue. And typical size, common gaps are generally smaller in size compared to other types of gaps, such as the initiation gaps or exhaustion gaps. So by their very nature and the actual price move that they have, they're much smaller in nature. So, you know, and you're gonna have to do a comparison because you're gonna be like, well, Sharif, I mean, a $5 gap on Tesla is, you know, equivalent to a 20 penny gap on Piton, right, for example. So you're going to have to make a comparison to previous gaps on that particular instrument to see what is, you know, large and what is small, and then kind of be able to fit this type of gap within one of those groups. And they occur frequently. So their chances of appearing on the price chart are much higher than any of the other gaps that we talked about previously. So since they are a part of the routine market behavior, common gaps occur frequently and are considered a normal aspect of price movement. Adair, questions or comments?
Yeah, so I have a few. So for one, on it being catalyst or lacking a catalyst. So I guess my question on that, I'm going to frame this with, so I know what we were talking about with the other gaps. Those ones, the initiation gap it'll have a catalyst associated with it, right?
Yes.
So I guess my question is,
almost always.
Can we sometimes though have like common gaps that don't have the pattern follow that do have a catalyst behind them? So for example, a lot of these small cap gappers, and we know that they're probably going to go down the next day. They do have, I guess, a catalyst associated. So I was just wondering how you can tell the difference in that case.
Well, this one you're looking for something without a catalyst. So if there is something with a catalyst, then you should be on the lookout for either an initiation gap if it's an uptrend or an exhaustion gap if it's a downtrend. This one should lack a catalyst. And I want to show you something specifically here. I'm going to take away VWAP so that you can see the price action a little bit better. But this is Li Auto. And this is very characteristic of these Chinese ADRs because their price action takes place, a lot of it takes place in the pre-market because Asian traders are trading obviously on a different time frame than us. There is a lot of gaps in Chinese ADRs. Doesn't matter just Li Auto, XPEV, NEO, look at this. So, I mean, if you were to base this kind of like, look how this gaps up over here. And then what do we do after that? The whole chart is a gap.
Yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying? You're not going to see that typically. So this is Li Auto. Let's go to Apple now. This is the daily chart on Apple. Much fewer gaps.
That's okay.
There are gaps, sure, but these are common gaps, but there are much fewer. So you may be prone to see them more on certain equities as opposed to others.
So certain stocks are more common gap here, is what we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say definitely that what fits in that category is Chinese ADRs, no question about it. Just because of the nature of how they trade. You know, the Asian markets are open at different times, and Chinese trade, or not just Chinese, but Asian traders may be interested in trading this 4 a.m. to about 8 a.m. when it's their regular market hours over there.
Can I just say one thing too about the Li Auto chart? Really quickly,
absolutely.
Is I think what's interesting too about this one, we did that one gap down here. I find interesting
this
because
one?
yes, I'm leading out here.
Yeah, yeah.
Here because
this one?
we had a sort of a flat bottom break a little bit here with these lower
yes,
highs.
absolutely. That's a 38 level.
And then we fell. So I think that.
Remember?
I've heard.
That was
I know
a
you talked
38
about
level. Yeah, we've
38,
talked about that. Remember, this is one that was the one that when Neil was showing us was a descending wedge, but we talked about how a descending wedge typically is followed by an uptrend, a downtrend, not an uptrend, because it's a continuation pattern. And this was one of the exceptions. Yeah. I mean, Sean, Neil, they all covered this. A $38 flat bottom break on Li Auto. Yeah, and we got it again, I think, a little bit over here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I just think
just
it's interesting how it had that gap down from that significant level.
Absolutely,
I guess.
yeah.
Breaking that trend there. Just
you could say that this maybe was an initiation gap to the downside over here because it was at an extreme. Remember?
Yeah.
That was one of the things we talked about on exhaustion gaps. It was at price extreme. So this looks like to me to be an interesting one. This one could be a continuation. Where's the exhaustion gap when you need it? No, in all seriousness, though. All right.
Yeah, thank you for going over that. I appreciate that.
All right, let's move on into the causes of these common gaps. So, understanding the causes. Okay, so just a whole bunch of stuff happened over here with my lesson. I think you're hitting enter on the lesson because.
Oh, I did not mean to. I apologize.
Can you just hit Control Z?
Oh.
Yeah, you can just hit. There you go.
Cool.
Thank you.
My apologies.
No worries. I'm like, Adair's editing my document. Some causes of these common gaps. Understanding the causes of common gaps is essential so that you can differentiate them between them and some other gappers that we've talked about. Market noise. Here's one of the first causes. Common gaps can be a result of random market noise or small price fluctuations between trading sessions. And again, they lack a catalyst. So if you see a big gap, or not a big gap, but a gap in the daily chart in the morning, make sure to look to see if there's a catalyst attached to that. Liquidity gaps. This is another important one. Sometimes there's an area of illiquidity between the closing price and the next day's opening price, and that causes a gap. Gaps can occur due to differences in illiquidity between consecutive trading sessions, leading to marked variations in price. And that's what we just showed you with the Li Auto one. And some technical factors as well. There can be some technical causes why we get these common gaps. Certain technical factors, such as gaps between daily closing and opening prices, contribute to the formation of common gaps. So market noise, regular market noise, liquidity issues or lack thereof, and technical factors all are contributing to the cause of common gaps. Any questions or comments, Adair?
Yeah, I think too, yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of these too, I guess, I'm trying to find a way to word this question, but so you know how sometimes like the stock will run up in the morning and then run back down before we open. I think that sometimes some of the small caps will do that. I guess like it's how do you I'm trying to find a way to word this question. I apologize, but I think it's kind of interesting, I guess, then that some of the market noise related ones, because you have to be running up for quite a while. There's quite a lot of noise to still gap up or down.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I just think that's kind of significant. And I think as someone who spends a lot of time looking at stuff pre-market, when I'm doing the watch list, and you will notice a lot of movement, especially some of these small caps, between where they're running pre-market and then where they open. So I think, some of them do run back down. I think some of those Chinese autos are part of that as well. So I think, it's just interesting to kind of, I guess I wanted to just like think about the difference between pre-market movement and then where we actually gap to.
I see.
That makes
Okay,
sense. Yeah.
fair. Okay.
Sorry, I worded that really poorly, but.
No, I get what you mean there. I mean, it's tough to talk about in theory, a lot easier to see in reality. Okay. How to ID these bad boys? So how do you distinguish between some of the gappers that we talked about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and some of these common gaps? So traders use various tools in order to identify common gaps within their technical analysis. The first one is obviously the chart. Price chart analysis should be your first step there. Regularly reviewing price charts, especially on the daily time frame, helps identify common gaps. These gaps are often visible as small openings between consecutive candlesticks. Again, the operative word here is small. You're looking for less aggressive, smaller gaps between the previous day's closing price and the current days or whatever day you're looking at than some of the other gaps that we've talked about, initiation, continuation, and exhaustion. Those typically will be bigger. And volume analysis, another very important thing. We've been talking about volume analysis for all our for all the gaps that we've been talking about this week. So common gaps are typically associated with average or lower trading volumes, emphasizing their routine nature. So you're going to say to me, Sharif, well, how do I know if something is average or low or above average volume? Again, you have the previous volume history for that particular instrument that you can make a comparison to. So go back and look to see what was the average, number one, what was the average volume for that particular stock? Is this gap that I'm looking right now above the average volume? If it is, all right, now let me compare it to some of the volume that happened on days with gaps. Is it below that volume level or above it? So make your comparison specifically to that instrument and make sure you're looking at volume. And then thirdly here, some of the ways to ID this is confirmation with indicators. Technical indicators such as moving averages or trend lines can be used to confirm the presence of common gaps and differentiate them from more significant price movements. So for example, if the price gap, was small and both the 50 and the 200 are still pointing down, or something even less long dated, maybe the 20 or the 10 are still pointing downwards, it kind of should give you a little bit of an indication that the moving averages are not confirming your perception there that this may be an initiation gap or what have you. So 3 ways that you should be able to identify these. Look at the price chart. Basically look for the size of the gap and compare it to the previous size of other gaps. Is it smaller or larger? Look at the volume analysis. How much volume was done on that particular day, and compare it to other days and just other days when there were gaps and other days in general. And then confirm using your indicators. Questions or comments? Darren?
Yeah, I think one thing I think is interesting with this is how we're using volume analysis very differently than how we were using it in the previous, almost opposite, I would say, right? Because instead of looking to confirm a trend like what you would be doing, or in the exhaustion gap, you're looking to confirm divergence, right? With some of these other gaps, you're looking to confirm strength or a possible move. And what I think was interesting with this is you're basically looking to confirm, hey, there's nothing else going on.
Right.
We're just gapping as the stocks tend to do. So I think it's interesting just thinking about how the use of, it's some of the same tricks we'd be using for these other gaps, we're using them in the opposite way. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
And I want to add one more other issue on how to ID. If they're filled immediately. So if they're filled within 2 or 3 days, it was a filled gap or initiation gap. So it definitely was not what you thought it was. So make sure to look on this particular chart over here where we have a common gap initiation over here. We don't know it's a common gap at that point, but within 3 days, it's already filled by this big red candle. So make sure to look, again, price chart analysis, how big was the gap, volume analysis, above average, lower average volume, confirm with indicators, obviously look to moving average and whatever other indicator you're using, and look to see if the gap gets filled quite quickly after it was formed.
Thank you. Appreciate
Trading considerations. Last but not least on the list there, while common gaps may not carry the same weight as other gap types, traders should be aware of their existence and consider them in their decision-making process. So the first thing is here, context matters. Context matters. Evaluate the broader market context to determine whether a gap is a common fluctuation or part of a more meaningful price movement. So again, is there a catalyst associated with this gap, or is Li Auto just popping up for whatever reason? I mean, did something really help propel this? What is the overall market doing? For example, if you're looking for a gap on the MAX7, what is the future doing? Is there anything specific to the overall market that's helping propel this instrument forward? If there isn't, then you should be suspicious of it. So context matters here. And then risk management, all right? We've been talking about risk management all week with respect to gaps because of their very nature. They are extreme events, right? Given the routine nature of common gaps, traders may choose not to base significant trading decisions solely on their occurrence. Implementing effective risk management strategies remains crucial. So let's talk about how you do that in a common gap over here. So if I was to get long based upon this common gap, and so say it gapped up, I took the opening print long over here, where is my stop? Well, I'm looking for the gap to get filled, obviously. If it gets filled, then I know that this is a failed gap. It's just a common gap. It's not an initiation gap. So it has to be where the area gets filled, right? And so that would be around over here. So we'll be looking at the previous candle's open or the top end of the range of that candle in order to put my stop to make sure that I don't get bamboozled, right? So that is, look, there are some trading considerations to think about it there.
Yeah, I guess it would also depend on context too, because it's like, if like, let's say this is NVIDIA gapping up like 5% after earnings, complete example, then you probably wouldn't set your stop at where that candle ends, right? Because NVIDIA 5% is going to be like tons of dollars.
Exactly.
So I just think that's something interesting as well that I appreciate. It's going to be context, which why it's called context matters, because it really does. And it's like, with your risk management, A, what's your risk appetite? And B, how insane is the stock that you're trading?
Right.
I think that's important as well.
All right, I want to talk about this Apple trade here because we may be getting involved with this one again. This one put in a lower high, guys, and it is on its way down again into VWAP. VWAP on my chart right now looking like it's at that 185 high third, so almost 40, okay? And so the reason I'm interested again in this Apple short is because when it popped up into 186, immediately it was met with selling and pushing it right back down, therefore making a lower high. So now we're anticipating that we will make a lower low to go with that lower high or this flat bottom break here possibly at VWAP. So I'm very interested right now in an Apple short. Again, it is reporting after the bell today. I've taken this bad boy already for a nice winner. We didn't get to hit the dollar club on this bad boy, but maybe we'll get to at some point today. But yeah, definitely interested in Apple. I don't want to chase it at these lows. I may get in like a 50% position here in case it pops back up and I can add in DCA. I can get a better cost basis. So let's go ahead. I'm going to send it to you for a second while I get my order ready. We're going to probably go short Apple right now as it approaches VWAP.
Yeah, let's do it. Best of luck with that trade. I think, yeah, I'm in Tesla. It's just going to be plot twist me staring at the Tesla chart as we do here. We're holding that 185 like glue. Like we'll kind of wick down as you can just see here, and then we'll come right back up. Definitely a book watching moment here. But also I like on the chart, I mentioned that bottom at 184.50, which by the way, if we break below that bottom or break in that bottom decisively, I am outie. Is Apple okay?
It's the software's being stupid.
No, sorry.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so and I'm trying to take some profit around that 185.30 area, just being really scalpy because I've noticed that's an area that we were having a little bit of difficulties eclipsing. Also, we took a little beak wetter off of Novo Nordisk, or I guess we had our first dose of Novo Nordisk here. I did add to this position a bit when I noticed we were holding up well around that 114 area. So I guess 114.05 is where I added, as you can see, the position board. Took out half the position because this really strong, I guess now triple top is making me a little bit nervous. I'm getting out if we decisively break below that 114. Although now that we have some profit, I think that 114.20 break would be probably my area of interest because I do like that this was that earlier high. So then we'd still have about 20-ish cents in the money here. Yeah, Old Man Hand saying trend is your friend. Yeah, I think the Novo Nordisk trend is working for me. I see what you mean with Tesla though, but with Tesla, I did like this base. A, I like this base here on the chart at that 184.50. B, I liked how we were holding that 185. And even now, will come down, but we are coming back up. So I think I'm comfortable staying in this for now. I do understand, though, that it is certainly something I'm going to have to keep my eye on. Also, NVIDIA. Some people were mentioning NVIDIA spiking at that 621, coming right back down. Like I said, I'm really interested in NVIDIA with a 619 base, but this is a little bit too wild child for me to get involved in at this moment. Like, swoop, 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 swoop. You know, like I talk about like inter-candle trading on this 5-minute charts, but this would be a heck of a candle. And I think the thing is, too, it's moving with such volatility.
Yep.
I want to wait till it decides on a bit more of a range. Also, I'm looking at IWM. This is what I've been looking at lately since I've started talking about it on the small cap recap. And if I see patterns I like, I'll put it on the side chart. What I like here, similar to what I was noticing with Tesla, although I think it's maybe more noticeable on the 3-minute. So I'll pull up the 3-minute here. But I liked, again, we went down, then we had a solid base. We've been doing at this base for almost half an hour now, this 191.80, and now we're starting to curl up. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I don't want to get involved too hastily, but I will be very much cognizant of what it is doing. Also, Novo Nordisk breaking up into 114.50, so the paper 50-cent club, I guess we'll be in the club of the 50-cent club over here, should that happen. Also, shout out to the Trader TV TikTok posting on the first time this morning. I'm going to drop that Trader TV TikTok link here in the chat for the new social media move here.
I was just about to talk about it right now. That's what I was reading. Brendo just sent me a message. We have a new social media team. They go by the name of, is it Jad or Jade? Jad and Pedro. That's what Brendo wrote to me here. They will be essentially alleviating Ram and the Chilean nightmare of some duties and helping them focus on the more important things. Ram's sitting up bang there. She's pumped. Yeah, so we're going to have, I guess, here a bigger social media presence, which I think, you know, is definitely going to help out a little bit, get some good exposure, and that's kind of like their modus operandi. That's what they do. So shout out to Jad and Pedro.
Did you see Ramin's new top priority, spamming the chat?
I love it. So we'll have to wait and see what we get with this new team, but we're definitely happy to have them on. Before I get to some of the questions here in the chat, I see Old Man Hands plug short. Diamond Realty Miami says plug gave up the 12% gap. Oh, baby, did it ever. But before I do that, I want to talk about this Apple trade because we're getting a bounce here. Surprise, surprise, off VWAP. Hence exactly why I said this would be an area where I would have to DCA. I'm getting it at an extreme at VWAP. We got the lower high over here. I put my DCA at 185.77. It's in this mid-range of the price action over here. So if it bounces up into that 70s area, I'm going to look to get my beak wet. Now, where's my out to know that I'm wrong on this particular trade? It's the making of a new high. So if we get that break of 186, like let's say 10, that's going to be the end of my trade. But it looks like the market is finding a footing right now on the NQ, trying to go back into 17.3. It's rejected all the pops into 17.3 since that big boy Huadunk. So if it reclaims here 17.3, then my Apple short will be in trouble, no question about it. But this is an area where I'm planning my dollar cost average in, and it is based on a reason. Why do I want to get in at this particular location? Well, because I got in at extreme. I actually tried to get in the 50s, but the software was giving me problems. So I had to end up, you know, giving up that area. So right back into the 70s it goes. We'll see if I can get that fill at 77s and then maybe take this bad boy right back down. Let's go and have a look now at Plug Power because everybody's been talking about Plug Power. So let's load up that bad boy, PLUG. And let's have a look at the daily because Diamond Realty in Miami was saying something about fill there. So we'll take off CING because that's done nothing.
It's not singing to you?
No, it's not. It's tanking.
Oh.
All right, so let's have a look here at the daily at Plug. Yeah, look how ugly that topping tail candle is, especially since it made a new high off yesterday's strength. Look, Plug Power since January 18th, Plug Power at the high today had gained 130%. From the bottom of January 18th to the high that we made this morning at 514, that's a cool 131.33%. So, you know, we're bound to get some resistance, especially into this area over here. Not surprised at all that we're encountering resistance at Plug Power at that $5 area. Look how long we've been topping out the consolidation top here on Plug Power since essentially when? Like early November. All right, let's have a look at the 5-minute now, a plug. See what we get. So we're right at yesterday's close. So very interesting area here for plug power because we're bouncing right now off that 445. 445 happens to be yesterday's closing print. You know how I feel about these closing prints. They are typically levels of support and resistance, and right now we're getting a little bit of support there. If you are to take the bounce off plug power, maybe, you know, I'd be very careful here on plug on a long, even though it is bouncing off yesterday's close. I'd be looking to de-risk into VWAP, considering it does make it up to VWAP to begin with. Let's see what it's doing right now. Yeah, it's holding up at that 450. We'll have to wait and see whether it breaks that yesterday's close at 445 and keeps heading down. If it does, then where do we have support? Well, kind of hard to tell. Let's see over here. What's this consolidation bottom? 4 1/3 maybe would be the first area I'd be looking, but then you're probably looking at $4, if anything. We'll have to wait and see. Plug power on the way down after having several good days. Let's go back to Apple here real quick. We did get the beak wetter at 77s, so now we're going to be looking for that lower high to be to stay in place. If it breaks above that 186.10, that is the end of my trade. Adira.
I love the rejection though of that 180, almost 186 area, and I like that we hit it earlier. I think that's a really nice look there.
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell.
As time often does, but
Yeah.
yes, plug certainly losing some power there. I would say for sure. I'm in 2 trades. I'll talk about it. We have 2 of our 3 beak wetters or doses or what have you here on Nova Nordisk. I got it the first one at this 1440, and then to set the rest of because we're near an all-time high on this. I wanted to be really cautious. So what I did was, oh, RIP my chart, I think. Oh, there we go. He died. But I know one of the big things, and shout out to Sharif because I feel like I've definitely learned this from Sharif, is you're talking a lot about how important it is to be looking at previous close and everything like that. So I really was setting my outs based on that. I got part of the position out at the previous close at that 114.74. So I got out at 114.73. The previous the high, I guess, has been that 114.99, so I'm getting out at 114.98. So basically setting my outs a couple cents below or above, sorry, or I guess below key areas of resistance. It does seem like we're having a hard time getting to that 115. I'm going to be cognizant of it, but I'm pretty happy with how this trade went and how I plan my outs because I'm trying to get more strategic every day I trade. Also, Tesla. Is Besla today. Got out part of the first little beak wetter at that 185.30, so not very much, but I like that we're kind of moving to the upside here at basically planning on getting out before we get that 187 because I do not like this wick down to the downside here. That makes me a little bit nervous, so I'm getting out at 187. Should we hold that? But we know I scalpulate. If I see any resistance on the book before that point, I will be outie of this Tesla trade. 2 trucks. 2 cars. We're taking that Cybertruck and we're getting out of Dodge. Oh, I just did another car. But I think, yeah, 186 seems to be a bit of a struggle, so I'm going to let Tesla breathe. Also, thank you so much to Hayes Records for the super chat. $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Hayes Records. Good friend of the show.
Yes, ma'am.
Amazon's option, IV, and premiums were too high this week, so I've been trading Amazon cons instead, or sorry, IWM cons instead, and it's been quintessential. Might have to make the switch. Gorilla emoji. Congrats to you. And I mean, I've been looking at IWM today as well. I traded that one a little bit earlier this week. One of the ones I'm trying to add to, so I'm not just trading mega cap tech every day, you know what I mean? Or GLPs. As Sharif pointed out, I do have an affinity for those. But I do like this recovery of this IWM, this sort of scoopy bottom after this nice base of that 191.60 area. I think IWM today is certainly an interesting look. And I mean, we always have small caps moving, these smaller names moving. So I think there's always something to look at here on stuff like IWM. A couple more here I want to get to. Kendall Lopez, Head and Shoulders and NVIDIA, 5 minutes. I was wondering about this too, but I'm going to say, and I know I haven't pulled up the chart yet, but I was looking at this one earlier. I'm going to say no to you, but I'm going to tell you why I'm saying no. Because I think it has a Head and Shoulders-esque shape, but it's missing the second shoulder on the 5 minute. So we have a first shoulder. We have a dip into a key area, this for a 621 area. We dip in, and then also the top of the shoulder is where we had some consolidation earlier. But we don't get a second shoulder. That's my take on NVIDIA. I don't think this is a head and shoulder. And I also think the amount of chop and churn we have at the 619, 620 that I've been talking about, I think we might be building up for something else.
So head and shoulder, what kind of pattern is it?
That is a reversal pattern.
Okay,
and I
so
don't
what
think
needs to precede what needs to precede the actual pattern for it to reverse?
An uptrend. And we're not really seeing, we're up on the day, which is, but It's not much. Like it's not much of an uptrend, and we don't have that second shoulder either.
I see. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and they're all not going to be perfectly shaped. But
That's true.
Yeah, good call on that. I happen to agree with you there.
I appreciate that.
Let's talk about NR. I believe Nimit wanted me to look at this. NRBO, small cap gapper. Let's pull this bad boy up. First, we'll talk about the deets. It's up 53.5% today. It is a $24 million market cap. It's tiny stock. It's a 3 million share float or thereabouts. Let's find out what the short float is on NRBO. NRBO, shout out to Trade Ideas and the crew there. Negligible short float, 0.22%, so nothing really to discuss. Now, this had a beautiful move up, Nimit, in the pre-market. Look at this 5-minute candle here at 8:05. We've moved up big boy into that 675. But look, Nimit, after 9:30, we don't break that 675 top. One of my rules for these small cap gappers is that they have to break and hold above, not necessarily hold above, but break above the pre-market high before I'll get involved. Also, they have to be above VWAP. This one marginally below VWAP right now at that $5 area. VWAP on my chart's 516. I do like this set of higher lows and higher highs, so a bit of a channel here since that big huadunk off that 675 touch. From 675, it based out at essentially $4, so it does hold 4, and now it's on its way down, holding 5. We'll have to wait and see whether 5 opens. But Nimit, I got to tell you the truth, I would not involve myself in this name because it did not meet one of my main criteria for small cap gappers, which is it must break above the pre-market high. Yeah, you may feel that I'm limiting myself in my selection of small cap gappers, and I'm totally at peace with that, because I'm going to have some rules and some more stringent rules when it comes to these small cap gappers because they are a volatile bunch. So that's my rule with that. But look, if this maintains itself above VWAP, and especially Nimit, if it breaks above that $6 area with that 606 high, then it's an entirely different story at that point. In addition to everything I've said, I really dislike the declining volume on this. This bad boy printed 4 million candles at one point here and within 5 minutes, and it's been down into the dang right with respect to volume, now below 500,000 for that 1 5-minute candle. We'll have to wait and see what NRBO brings the rest of the day. Again, if it holds above VWAP, and most especially if it's able to break above 6, then it may be back in play, even if it doesn't break that pre-market high. Time will tell. AAPL still out of the money, about 14 pennies out of the money on Apple at the moment. Looking at these lower highs, though, I am fixated on these lower highs and these rejection of the pivots, and I am looking for a flat bottom break through that 185.40. Most specifically, I'm looking for Apple to give up the ghost.VWAP. Look how many times we've been bouncing off VWAP here on Apple. We did it initially too, even the more volatile time of day when the Katina Man and the Kenobi were on. Look at this 945, 950 bounce on Apple. So clearly somebody's buying this thing at VWAP, and we've talked, you and I, about the importance of VWAP, the importance of institutional traders and buyers, and how they use VWAP on their when they're trying to accumulate a position, and how they're judged on their price based upon where VWAP ends off on the day, and that was given to us by the NOS boss, who has obviously hedge fund experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's really neat, and I think that shows the importance of VWAP as well. And I think one of the cool things too, I remember when I went, I was lucky enough to be invited on by Sean to his market recap show. Shout out. And he said, you know what, the biggest indicator you need to know is VWAP. And that's something I always remembered. I know you said to me too, VWAP is something that even if it's not going to always be in play, you always want to know where it is so you can know how things are interacting with it.
So Bennett Hall has a great question.
Oh.
He thinks we're saying BWAP. No, VWAP, like V, as in Vanderbilt. As in vicious, Ram. No, VWAP, my friend Bennett Hall. One thing I want to show viewers, because sometimes we're yapping about different indicators and we use different terminology that newer viewers may not be familiar with. Let's have a look at the Trader TV Live YouTube page, Ram, because this is a great source of information. So you come to the YouTube homepage here for Trader TV, and then you get the crew at the top. But look at this, is a magnifying glass over here. That's your search. So type in VWAP in the search, you hit enter, and then this handsome looking gentleman over here by the name of Neil Roberts appears, trading VWAP for huge profits on Plug Power. How appropriate. And this was about 2 years ago. So anytime you want to know anything about VWAP or any MACD RSI, you name it. Any of the things that we're talking about on the show, go over to the YouTube page on Trader TV, type it in here, and I'm sure somewhere there will be an explanation. Thanks for asking that, Bennett, because I'm sure other people had questions as well.
Yeah, no, when I first started, I remember being like, thinking like, what's this VWAP I'm hearing all about? And I had to end up Googling it because I was like, you know, everyone's like, oh, this is VWAP. Like, I was like, is this a stock? Like, what's going on with VWAP? But yeah, no, we love questions here. I'm always asking questions, and I think it's a really great opportunity because, and a really great community because people will answer questions you have in the chat. People will ask questions.
Right.
And I think, yeah, we're all trying to learn together, especially with how to trade. RIP the midday, but we're still the midday. We're just how to trade on the midday.
Right.
There we go. But yeah,
I told you called memes and movers. Right?
I like that.
So we've changed the name of the show before.
Yeah.
What's the look over there, Adara?
The look is, I am pleased as punch. I really have to say, I'm just really happy here. This NVO, I did get out an NVO. I was talking to Zion Lala about this. Congrats to you still being in that one. I got out just because, where is my NY? I got out of this one because I was looking at basically levels here, and I know the high on this one was, now it's higher, but it was at that 144.99. So I got out 144.98, and all the B quarters here were based on previous levels. I got out here at that 114.40 because that was a previous top, and we had a lot of resistance there. This 114.74 I got out because that was yesterday's close, and that's a level that I'm learning to respect. I know Sharif definitely is really into that previous day close, and I know the pivot points are based around that as well. Yeah. And so I think that's something I've really learned a lot as well. This last one, like I said, I got out because that was where the previous high was. But I have to say I'm pretty proud of this trade, just basically, as I was saying to Zion Lala in the chat, combining my scalpier tendencies, so getting out of key levels, with also just staying in a trade a little bit longer, trying to reload if that opportunity arises. Just being a little bit more confident in my trades. And unlike me just punching out at a whim while singing Spice Girl lyrics, cough, cough, that IWM trade on Tuesday, I'm trying to be decisive in a way that is more sane, is the word I will use. Like being decisive while also having a plan going into it. And that's what I'm really trying to work on. Thank you so much, Hayden, in the chat. Much appreciated. But yeah, I think Tesla really struggling with this 186, though. As much as I think, you know, the scalpulator in me makes me, I might have to take out the rest of this at 186. I don't have much left. I have a pretty small position to begin with. I'm going to be patient, but my plan for an out, though, is right below that 187. Why? Because that was where we had that big swoop to the downside and a little bit of recovery, and then we fell with the viciousness, with the swiftness, with whatever word you'd like to use. We did fall. So I want to be very cognizant of that area, especially with our difficulties getting above this 186 after a pretty nice move into 186. Lots of stalling here, so I shall be cognizant, I shall be patient, and I shall pack the patience in my Cybertruck.
Pack it.
And see how that goes. Beautiful. Nice Apple look, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know, we're getting the kind of consolidation area. It's not making any newer highs, Adara, but it's making me wait, okay? And so that's fine. We have exact levels that we're gonna get out and we're gonna get in at. So we already got the DCA that was planned. You guys heard that live. My out is going to be the break of 186.10. So if it goes to 186.11, that's out. That's the end of that. And I am looking to wet my beak through the break of VWAP. I will not be taking a profit target here above VWAP. I'm sitting at the 185 quarter dollar. Don't at me. No, I'm kidding, of course. At me as much as you want. But Zamalek brings up a very good point. By the way, Zamalek is a team in the Egyptian Premier League, so shout out to him for that. That's my dad's favorite team, but my mom loves Al Ahly. So there's always beef at my house because of that. By the way, Zamalek asks a very good question. Question, please. With AI and algo trading on smaller time frames, what advantage do you offer as human scalping traders? Why are there still jobs for human traders? What is their edge over AI? Have you seen the Katina Man trade? Right, like that's... Yeah, yeah. So you know what I'm saying about that? Al Ahly boo, he says. No, seriously, it's a good question. How long is there left for human traders? That's a good question because AI is going to get involved in this. Right now we have machine learning that's been doing the most of the algo trading, or algos have been programmed by humans. We've been trying to get an algo trader on the show. I can't tell you for how long, because I know that you guys are interested in that. There's an algo room back there. They're obviously too busy. I've been trying to get one of the main guys to come on the show. He's been, you know, he's been telling me, I'll come on in the new year, this, that, and the other. So hopefully he fulfills his promises and he comes on. He'll obviously be able to shed a lot more light on how to program, but humans are still programming these algos. There's other algos that are doing machine learning as well. right? And so we'll have to wait and see what this new generative AI has to do or has to say with respect to this trading, because I don't know if we've seen the introduction of that quite yet. More to come, though. Obviously, we're still in a very nascent industry, that being obviously the AI industry, and how that it's going to affect trading, I don't know. I got to tell you the truth. There's just obviously, there's traders that are making money around here, right? So there obviously is some human edge that is still prevailing. For how long? It's a great question, man. We'll have to find out. Time will tell. All right, same thing on Apple here. Nothing has changed with respect to my trade. I am looking for some other stuff. A lot of people have been asking short SMCI up here, and Jay Lee asked me, I think there was a couple of other individuals as well in the chat, and I said, you're not gonna catch me shorting SMCI up here. Number one, because it's just too volatile, and number two, it's far too spready, and number three, it's just dang strong, right? Here is SMCI. Let's have a look. Ram. Chart. At this level. So let's have a look at what this, we got a 567 high, a bit of a double top, possibly. The only thing is, though, look at that. We start pumping in higher lows again. So we trough out that 555, and then right back up we go to knock on the door of 565 again. I personally don't want to get involved in a short around here. I mean, if we get a decided break through this bottom here that we set at 553, yeah, 553 and a quarter. You could even make the argument for 554 and a quarter. That's how much of a range there is on SMCI. Then I could take that bottom break. But you're not going to see me guess the top over here at 567, 566 and a half. I won't do that. And besides, look how well it held that 20 period. Now it's holding the 10 period again. I want nothing to do with this SMCI short personally, but if that's your trade, kill it on that. You just won't catch me in it. Apple's on the way up. It's gonna make me look bad here.
Hasn't made a new higher high though yet.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I'm still looking at this IWM. I think this 192.50 is really interesting. I was watching, that was an area we held really well earlier. Sort of also bounced off that that 9 EMA. My brain turned off for a second there. But yeah, I think if I can get in calmly at that 192.75, I might take this one to the upside, but I want to be really cognizant of that. I almost got in earlier when we were around that 192.50 when we had that nice curve move up, but I was already in two trades at that moment, and I was like, I don't know if I can handle a third at this moment. I am not Sean. Shout out to Sean for handling like 6 trades at a time plus. But I was like, you know what, we're going to stick with the 2. And I'm happy I did right now. Tesla, my whole plan with this was if we break below that 180, 567-ish area, because that was a key area coming up, A, that we kind of stalled around, and B, that 9 EMA, but we held this like a little glove, or like, a supercharger, just right into the Cybertruck here. But yeah, I think what's making me nervous though is I'm seeing the same kind of candles here of stagnation that we saw when we were coming up. So I'm wondering if Tesla's building, I don't want to say a top, but if it's going to stall at this level, because I would like it to, have a little extra EV juice. Like I said, I'm really interested in that 187 level, but I'm not going to complain. This is a $1 simulator winner, so I will take this if the opportunity is present. I will say too with SMCI, I think, I see what people mean about a short with regards to the top. However, as someone, the other thing I would argue too with, we do have kind of this could be a flat top break as well. And I think especially, I know I trade a lot of stuff with crazy spreads, cough, cough, Eli Lilly, but I think it's just something I would be really hesitant about just given how strong we are in the day. And this spread is, I would even say, crazier than Mademoiselle Lily's. I think this one gives Lily a run for her little money here. So thank you very much, Bob, Karan, Adara, go Tesla. I mean, I hope so.
Big Bob.
Appreciate it there.
The Katina Man is in Tesla as we speak. So anybody following along with the Katina Man? 184.70 long, guys. Yeah, it's not a huge position because it didn't come into that 184 level that he wanted, but he did wet his beak there, 184.70, and now we're going through 186. Shout out to the Katina Man. If you're following along with his trades, make sure to keep your eye on the chat, because oftentimes he is putting his new positions in the chat. So a lot of people asking what's Sean trading, what's Neil trading. Neil's obviously off today, but keep your eye on the chat there for their positions. Apple on the way up here, and that's because we got a decided break of 17.3. So there's a lot of strength right now in the Mag 7 names. That is obviously, unless you're Google. Nvidia's pumping. Tesla's on the way up. The Amazonian, not so much. It's back down to 157. Even Microsoft got off that bottom there at 401. It's on its way to 404. But I got to tell you, I don't know what the hell is moving up the NQ here, because I'm not getting participation from Meta. I'm not getting participation from Amazon or Google. It's really, or Microsoft for that matter. I mean, Microsoft did pop up into that 408, but it's at 404 right now. So really, Nvidia is the only one that's popping off here, breaking through 622. Obviously, Tesla's coming off that bottom as well, but it's still red on the day. It's 0.71. So I'm not really exactly sure why we're making our way to the top here. Is it any of these other names? Let's see what Cloud is doing. CRM, CrowdStrike. No, they're not doing much either. So yeah, a little confusing today. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, make a long story short, if it comes into my level at 186.10, I'm ending this trade on Apple, but we're not there yet. So we'll have to wait and see. What other, let's see what these small caps are doing. We are looking at NRBO for Nimit. So Nimit, look at this. NRBO back above VWAP, my friend. Putting in those higher lows, holding 5. Keep your eye, Nimit, though, on that 606 break. I think you might have a nice opportunity there if you get that high of daybreak on NRBO. GRI was all the hype this morning. Multiple halter to the upside. Got into that almost $5 area. 489 was as good as it could do. I didn't involve myself in this one that much because, well, it didn't have a definable pre-market high. Right? This one really started getting going around 10 o'clock. So I didn't have anything off which to base it. In addition to that, right now it is below VWAP. And to add insult to injury, it was a multiple halter, which always kind of causes me some concern. MINM was another really good one today. It is now below VWAP. This one was great to take, okay? If you had to, hold on, let me check what I have to say here about that. 930, no. This one was a bit of a bamboozler because this one was running into the open. So by the time 930 came around, it was almost at its high. Got to 721 by 930, and then you had that big pop into 7 3/4, and then it tanked right back down. So this one, ideally, you want that pre-market high at 738, 630, something definable, then it retraces a little bit, then the bell rings, and it breaks that pre-market high. You had this one run up into the bell, so you didn't have a definable pre-market high from which you could take it. So MINM looked real good, especially if you traded in the pre-market, but if you look to trade it after the bell, it was a bit of a tough one there. And then obviously Peloton down and to the right goes Peloton. It is barely holding on to 4 1/4 at the moment, kind of stagnating a little bit after that big, huge move down. Where did we close out yesterday? We closed out at 556. At its height this morning, we were at 595, almost breaking 6. So from that 4 a.m. high to the low, we're down almost 30% on Peloton. I'm not talking about being down 30% on the day, but from that 4 a.m. high to that 10:50 a.m. low, almost, yeah, exactly 30%. So not a good look for Peloton, despite the fact that their earnings weren't that much of a miss. I mean, they were a miss, but they weren't that much of a miss. Anyway, still out of the money on Apple. Disappointed.
So the wheels are falling off Peloton, is I guess what we're saying.
I guess
there.
they are. Yeah.
Oof. But yeah, no, I mean, I think too, I did leave the Cybertruck, I have to say. We locked the doors. I'm joking, I might get back in at some point. But basically what I did here was I noticed that 186 failure, and I did not like that 186 failure. And I did, in my defense, I did try it once. I let us get to that 185, 60-ish area. We bounced off that 9 EMA, I stayed in. But that second time that we could not take that 186, I was like, nah, the scalpulation took over. I watched the level we were holding really well, which is at 185.60, or sorry, 80, 185.80. And I said au revoir, and I exited the Cybertruck on its way to Texas, which is, I say that because of the whole shareholder vote to potentially move Tesla's incorporation to Texas.
Do you think he moves it?
Tesla.
Do you think he moves it?
I think he might. I know I was saying to Sharif, I like looking at Tesla shareholder Twitter because I find it really amusing. And I know.
What do you mean?
Well, like the Twitter of like people who are really into Tesla, like all the Tesla Bull Twitter. I should have made that clearer. Yeah. And so they like they'll get like really into stuff and they'll all be like communicating with each other. And I know there were a lot of rumblings in Tesla Twitter about this Texas thing. And I know some secret like shareholder thing.
Were they pro it, against it?
I think the vibe was they were like, oh, we like do a poll and then we're trying to like have some. It was kind of like under a little bit low key right now.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, there's certainly some interest in in the Texas thing, and I know because initially Elon had a poll on X and was like, if people want to go to Texas, would people be down? So it sounds like there was enough response on that poll for people to be interested.
Very
Also,
interesting.
the Skip 8 coming with a great pun, Pelagon. I would say that is true of Peloton. Also, shout out to the Piper. I mentioned this in the chat, but didn't get a chance to say it on the show. The Piper saying, because we were saying catalyst instead of without a catalyst, right? And so then the Piper was saying, if a stock's flopping around without a catalyst, then it's catalystless. And I had to
said
give.
that.
Oh, did you say?
Yes.
Oh no, I missed that. I'm sorry.
I said catalystless, remember?
But I guess they mean like listless plus catalyst.
Listless is a completely
catalystless.
different word. Yeah, listless means you're boring.
Right? Yeah, that's the idea that it's kind of doing nothing without a catalyst.
I can go with that. I can go with that.
But I think, they're both great. Yeah, sorry, we're just punning over here. But yeah, I think Mike Wolf saying that would be a good thing for Texas. Yeah, I mean, they already have the Gigafactory there too, right? So I think.
Austin is huge.
Oh yeah, so I think that would be very much of note. Also, Tesla did fall off of that that with a viciousness kind of here below that 9 EMA. Just a quick note here on Tesla. If there's another dip that forms, I may get involved, but I really do not want to force this. Happy I exited the Cybertruck, and I'm just going to calmly drink my coffee.
Cool.
Well, he falls. How's Apple going?
It's still, we're 10 pennies out of the money still. It's still in that 160s. It's putting in lower highs, guys, but we're not getting that decided breakdown. A lot of that is having to do with the strength of the futures right now. The futures are decidedly above 17.3, and they are making higher lows and higher highs. So if the market continues to pump here, there's probably a narrower window that, the market goes up and Apple goes down. It could be, that there is some positioning here into earnings at VWAP. And that's not completely out of the realm of possibility, as usually you wait until earnings come out and then you position, but obviously there's some people front running here. So I don't have anything else other than this Apple trade. I am looking for more. I'm seeing a lot of weakness here in Meta, right? And even though Meta's up 1 1/3 on the day, this attempt at 400 that rejected with the viciousness and right back down into 395 and change we go. That was a beautiful rejection off 400, and you got 2 attempts at that. You got the initial pop there at 935 with a lot more volatility. You're not going to see me trading at that time. And then you got this one over here at 1030 when things calm down a little bit more. You got an ascent into 399.85 that gave you another opportunity for that 400 short. You would have had to run. You would have had to front run 400 though to get the fill there because it didn't quite make it up to 400. But if you did, you were awfully rewarded as it has been down into the dang right since then, holding above 395 right now. Guess where? Near the pre-market high consolidation area. Surprise, surprise. Resistance becomes support for now, right? So over here, we had the pre-market high between around, let's just say, when we start pumping there at 5:15 till about 9 o'clock. That was basically the pre-market consolidation high at 395, and now we're holding up at that very same level. Multiple candles bouncing off 395-ish area. We'll have to wait and see whether Meta's able to give up the ghost as it moves down. Katina Man were you about to hit the Tesla thing there? I thought your hand was on its way to the stream deck. The Katina Man is short Google 142.70. Long Tesla 184.70. Short Intel 43.07 Katina Man. That's from the morning, the Intel short. That's a hell of a short though on Google, bro.
Ooh, yeah, I was.
Yeah. That's you're well in the money there. That's a buck. We're a $1.4125 right now. Google on its way down. Spin it, Katina, or hit it, Katina Man. There we go. Look how many twist my arm. 142.50. That was a hell of a top on Google.
Whew.
Look how many touches we have at this 142.50. Give you multiple times. I mean, obviously there is the IB high there at the open that we got it to 143, but the majority of the candles do top out at that 142.50, and it has been down into the right. Google, a bit of a weaker name today on that earnings miss. Digital ad sales not coming, not reaching expectations. Geez, Apple, it's back up. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, Apple seems very emotionally confused. I would say she doesn't know what she wants to be when she grows up.
Futures are pumping. The futures are pumping, guys. 17,350 incoming on the NQ Adara. I'm probably going to get stopped out of this Apple trade if it breaks through 186. And I'm about 10 pennies about getting stopped out here. So we're going to take an L on Apple, and we're going to give back everything that we made over here, quite frankly, if we get stopped out. So unless this rejects and tanks back down, this is going to be the end of the trade for Apple.
I'm sorry, that's too bad.
That's the way it works.
Tesla, though, getting a nice pop. I did leave the Cybertruck, and I'm not going to cry over spilled Cybertrucks here. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But congrats to anyone still in this trade. Felicitacion to Sean, who is just shy of $2 in the money here. Also, I love that you are still bullying Sean to press the money buttons. Because I know that was like one of the things when we were watching, right? That you like the money button. So I like that. We're still doing that. But yeah, I mean, Tesla getting really close here up to that 187. Like I said, that was my area of interest, so I want to see what we do at 187. But really nice look on Tesla. Congrats to anybody still riding the Cybertruck. NVIDIA getting into that 623 with a viciousness. Ooh. I want to see what NVIDIA does at the 624.50, because that was certainly a steep rejection. We're out of that range that we were interested in earlier. Also peep this 5-cent paper trade scalp. And fat fingering. Short Smeller is saying, no need to drive yourself crazy with Tesla. Yeah, I don't know if that was a pun, but I like that, drive yourself crazy. If it was, congrats, and if not, you're right. Like, I'm not gonna get upset over it. You know what I mean? There's other trades, and I'm really happy with the trades I've had today. I want to talk, if I'm being honest, right, just as I'm learning. And I think I'm trying to get a little bit more disciplined and figure out a style for myself. And I want to talk about Novo Nordisk bouncing off this 114.40. Look at this previous area of resistance becoming support. Poof. Go Novo Nordisk. I just like seeing levels. I got excited about that. But yeah, that was where I took my first beak water here on this, because I noticed that was a really heavy level of of resistance there. Kind of ended up flat top breaking, and look, we're kind of bouncing off that 114.40. So I think, I know Zion Lala was still in this trade, I believe. Congrats to you. And I do think that 114.4 bounce is very promising. I was saying to myself, like, if this thing breaks below 114.4 on that move down, I think it would be a little dicey. But you know what? Congrats to you if you did get involved in there. And I think that's why these kind of previous levels are really important. Like that previous high of that 114.99 made me nervous. That's why I got out there. Did end up rejecting a little bit there just for my style of trading. But if you're holding on to this, I would say it's a pretty nice look for sure. And congrats to you, Zion Lala. Anyone else taking these GLP-1 trades, which is weirdly, as Sharif was mentioning, one of the types of stock I really enjoy trading. Actually, with that in mind, let's pay our friend Mademoiselle Lily a visit. She's below a milli, so we're not getting involved, but holy cow, nice recovery here. Not even recovery, we're up on the day. But I like we had that little move down, we swoop back up, higher highs, higher lows. Much below a milli though, so we're at like 750,000, so I shall not be involved. Tesla coming into this 187. All I have to say is congrats to anybody in these trades. Everything's looking great. Very sad that I wasn't rustling hard enough here, because I did not get the Russell trade here. Every day we are not rustling, I guess, over here. But this 194 I'm going to be watching, because that 194 we rejected off with a swiftness, sort of a lower high here. And look, we're coming into that 194, we're flying down. I'm not going to short this, all hands on deck without like giving it some time here. But I do want to watch what we do at 194. I'm going to be very cognizant of 194 because I know. I like previous levels. I think they're interesting, and I think they're worth looking at. Also, thank you so much to Sean sharing his Tesla trades here. So let's look at this. Here's the sticky note trade with Tesla here off the written level of support. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, it's a Sean. And then I love that he uses the emojis, the little salute. $2 in the money. Congrats to Sean, and thank you for always sharing the sticky note. A lot of people here in Sticky Note Nation, so there we go. President of Sticky Note Nation there, Sean, with his tweets.
I love President of Sticky Note Nation. And we're going to probably get the Sticky Note guy coming in real soon. We already have Sharif's mom and Old Man Hands. Maybe Google short says Old Man Hands. It's not moving. Well, I mean, I see what you're saying. That 140, 150 was a bit of a level. Look, I don't think I'm going to take anything short right now. That is until we maybe reject off 17.4. The futures absolutely pumped up like nobody, chart. At that 17.261 low, 17.381 high. We are at highs currently. We broke through the IB high, so the future is on its way up. I'm going to be seeing what we do at 17.4 though. If we rejects 17.4, it may be a nice little trade there, either on the future or on on one of these Mag 7 names that's awfully weak. That would be a counter trend trade, and maybe I stay clear of that one, so I'll have to think it through. It's pumping right now. New high, 17,386, awfully strong. Apple at day's highs, broke through there. I'm out of my Apple trade. We got rinsed on that, so that was a bit of a bad trade. But we are at this level that we got to earlier on Apple with these topping tail candles where we saw shorts definitely getting in, or people taking profits at these levels. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. 186.31, we just got up there into 186.30, so we didn't print a new high of day on AAPL. Not quite yet. Look, I'm long, obviously, this in the personal account, so I want to see this go up, but we got rinsed on the day trade. That is just no question about it. We gave back everything that we made, and now we're negative on the name. So that's just the way it is, and too bad for me. So we'll watch to see what Apple does at this level here, because this is a decisive level, given that we had 3 candles wicking off this area earlier in the day. Keeping an eye on some other names here. NVIDIA looks strong. We just have to figure out how to get into some of these trades because I find myself lacking options. SMCI continues to pump up, guys. We got it to 569.77 now on SMCI, so glad I wasn't persuaded to short this bad boy. It continues to head upside, up over 7.5%, now over 100% year to date. 100.25% year to date. SMCI looking to break that 570 level. Super microcomputer is awfully super, as it's shown here by this chart. Adara, look at this. I told the Katina man, since the 18th of January, look at this. So we're going to measure from the 18th of January to the high today, Adara, we're up 85 or 86.25% since January 18th.
Pardonnez-moi?
Bruh.
Oh my, I love that tool though too, because it just shows you it stretches and you're like, oh my God, SMCI is crazy.
It only took me 4 years to figure out how to use it.
It's a cool, I feel like it's one of the tools they wouldn't advertise. Like it's probably like, it kind of hides, it's like coy, it's like you have to find me.
Yeah.
But then you found it and it was really cool.
And it's changed my life ever since that time.
Yeah, it's really, because then you could just like pull up percentages and I'm like, you'll be like, oh, this thing gave up this much. And I'm like, that's really cool.
Hit it, Katina man, what's up?
Read about SoFi and read Renata's
SoFi, 760 long, support it at the dip. What am I supposed to read here? I took SoFi long, 760. Thank you so much. Bravo, Katina man.
It's a good look on SoFi.
Yeah, good look. I mean, SoFi was a bit of a bamboozler with earnings, a tough play there. I mean, they beat and then they end up selling off. Let's have a look at SoFi. Where do we base out there? 757. Look at the 4 candles holding up that level. Yeah, great trade, man.
Go sticky note.
Yeah, below the 50 period. Let's see if it rejects off the 50 period right now. Coming in hot and heavy here at that 780 level. But multiple green candles to the high side here, Adara.
Yeah, this is a massive look. I know Carla in the chat also asking about SoFi, so hopefully you see this. I mean, congrats to Renata. Go sticky note. I think this is a really nice look here. And yeah, I agree with what you were saying, Sharif, about being kind of bamboozling, to use your terminology, to enter trades, because I feel like what's happening is a lot of these are kind of moving, hitting the ground running, and it's hard to find ways to finagle or, I guess, bamboozle your way into them, right? So I will say, though, that IWM 194 rejection, I don't know why this stock has become my child. Or it's not even a stock, it's an ETF. But it's become one of my favorites for some reason. But I do like this IWM 194-ish rejection. So I was talking about this earlier. Like that's where we had that big swoop down. Looks like it's coming to fruition. I want to wait for a bit of confirmation here. I want to see one more rejection. But we did swoop up and then swoop back down. So I like the look of this. I would like to get involved. I know someone earlier was mentioning coin to me, and I'm so sorry I didn't get to it in the chat. I apologize, don't remember who it was, but I will pull up coin for you. I think you mentioned a bear flag on coin, if I remember correctly. Yeah, did not come to fruition, although I will say probably part of that could have just been the overall strength of the market. That 124.50 bounce was beautiful. And also, I want to say, though, as we come up, a level I would keep in mind for coin. Although I know Coinbase is, I would say, less respectful of levels and more respectful of whatever Bitcoin's doing. The one thing I will say for Coinbase is that 129 area, consolidated around it, swoop back down there. Right off the open, we bounced up, then we came right back down. bounced again, and then fell. So I'd be really watching that 129. Other area I would be watching would be that 130, which is the upper range of that chop and churn we had earlier. So those would be the areas I would be looking at here if you are in Coinbase. But I see what you mean about it looking like a bear flag earlier, whoever that was in the chat, because we did have that consolidation, we did have that move down. The market just decided it wasn't a bear flag. So I think that's an interesting look. Also, speaking of things shortish or near key levels, I think this NVIDIA, lower high is really interesting here as well. I said I'd be watching it at that 624.50. NVIDIA's like, what's 624.50? It could not even make 624. We might have had a wick into it, and it said, we could be building up here, though, and as I say that, I think NVIDIA is trying to make me look like a liar over here. We're trying to knock back on the door of that 624, but I think, yeah, really interesting areas here. I don't want to short this unless there's mega confirmation because we are up 150 on the day, but this I think if this gets rangy, we know I like ranges. I like that 618 bounce. I like that 624 rejection. Let's see if it continues to come to fruition here. Scotty's Beat saying alphabet soup looks tasty. We love puns here. Let's look at Google. I mean, you don't really have to search for a bottom here. Bad Google search pun. That 141.50 area, pretty strong. Congrats to Sean. This one entered the elusive exclusive dollar club earlier today, I know, on the short side. But yeah, like Sharif said, though, and I think this is still really key, that 142.50 area is a really strong top. But I think that bottom here of that 141.50 gives you about $1 range, things to keep an eye on. But yeah, alphabet soup indeed cooking up here on this midday.
Mark Susi, bit unnerving that all the insiders of Meta selling large portions of their holding going into earnings. I just asked him who sold. I didn't actually get the update there about who was selling on META, but today, big day for Meta, as Google obviously reported downbeat digital ad sales, and that had Meta selling off aggressively on Tuesday in the aftermarket in sympathy with Google. And so we'll have to wait and see whether they're, the difference in digital ad sales there. One's obviously social media based, one is more search based. Does one hold up better than the other? Time will tell. We're gonna have to wait today to find out. What happens there. Keeping an eye on this future. We are definitely holding up near the highs. We rejected, though, of 17,392. So we'll have to wait and see if we can make a touch into 4. What else we got on the docket right now? We got, we got Tesla at VWAP. We have NVIDIA at high a day. So this is going to actually have to be looked at here. NVDA high a day right now as it continues to pump up, possibly coming into resistance. So this is the level that we're talking about right here. This is the top at that 625-ish area, 624.82 technically the HOD right now on NVIDIA. Do we get that decided breakthrough? I mean, like, look at that. It was a retracement all the way down to 618. We hold up 618, then pump right back up. NVDA strong on the day, 1.5%. Looks good right now. We'll have to wait and see what we get for NVDA. Looking at some other names on my side chart here to see if there's any outlandish or anything making big moves. Just looking over here. Weed is all green on the day, by the way, guys. Everything in the weed world is green on the day.
Was that a pun? Weed is green on the day?
I didn't actually mean it that way, but it was a happy accident. SPWR, SunPower. This one showed up on my scanner for whatever reason earlier today. This reminds me of 2020, man, when all the solar names were all the hype. And especially after Biden got elected, oh my God, the solar stocks went nuts because everybody thought, he's gonna go gung-ho into obviously newer energy infrastructure, this, that, and the other. SPWR, I think it was an earnings winner. No, what was this? Receives, here, I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Company receives additional waiver extensions. What the hell is that?
There was some other financial commitment thing.
20 million? Yeah. So pre-market Tuesday after said it received an additional waiver extensions until February 16th for a loan agreement with Atlas Scrutinized Product. Okay. So to me, that's not the best catalyst I want to see. Anyway, what does a daily look like on SunPower? I'm willing to bet you it's ugly. Yes, sir. It is not good. This thing was trading, like I said, in 2020, 2021. This thing was at 57.50, barely holding on to $3 today, 363. Not, good day for it. Possibly good day trading stock, but not for me at the moment. We're now involved in this Apple long. Okay, talk about cruising for a bruising. This is, we're seeing if we can hold up here at 186. Former resistance becomes support. We'll see if we can hold up there. I'm not going to give this too much room because we already got rinsed on it. Sharif, short SMCI there, says Oscar plays. I got to tell you, man, I don't feel inclined to short SMCI at all, but we're going to have a look because you asked nicely. SMCI, just finished talking about this one. But look, the thing about this one, though, Oscar, is it's continuing to put in higher highs and higher lows. So I don't want to think that I'm good enough to guess where this is going to top out. But you do have something on your side. You're getting into that $10 level. We're rejecting right now off that 570-ish area. Technically, the high of day, 569.77, right? That's really the only thing that I can see that's on your side here, that's favoring a short at this level, that you're at that $10 level, the whole dollar level, psychological resistance. But what on the chart shows you that this could be an interesting area to short? We're a blue sky setup. We have no higher highs than this point. So I have no levels off which to base and say, okay, that looks like a good resistance level right there. So I'm going to say no to the SMCI short. That's just one of the many reasons. Number two, obviously, it's very spready and very volatile, and I don't want to get involved in that because just getting in and out could cost me money, right, because of the spread. So I'm going to say no, but if you print on it, I'm wishing that you print on it, quite frankly. Why is everything up, says Mira? We don't really know. I mean, we have big earnings today, obviously. Apple, Meta, and Amazon, the three monsters, all reporting after the bell today. So there could be some market excitement, market exuberance, maybe some possible, I don't want to say anything insider obviously buying, but there could be some positioning by bigger money in anticipation of earnings. Anything could be really the reason here in the midst of earnings season.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be trading tomorrow and see, because we have these three major names all at the same time. I know Apple's earnings were after Halloween during the last seasons. They were a little bit, they weren't like lagging like NVIDIA, which always reports kind of last of the Meg 7 from what I'm aware. But Apple's certainly a little bit behind. But this time it's like, no, I want to be with the big kids. I'm going to be reporting same day as these other two heavy hitters. So I think that'll be a really interesting trading day tomorrow. And I know last time with Apple earnings, I know there was that Starbucks bet where if Apple ended positive on the day, you had to get everybody Starbucks. But Apple did not want to end positive on the day.
Let me hear it for weeks after that.
She's like, where's Apple's positive? Where's my Starbucks?
It's like, go bring my Starbucks. Where's my Starbucks?
And you know how much your drink is? It's like $10.
Ram, how much is a drink, honestly? Be real. How much?
$5. Okay, sorry, I exaggerated.
For Starbucks, that's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're getting a regular dark roast, venti. That's almost $4 now.
I know. It's,
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah.
Don't come at me in the chat.
So slightly different here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I want to look at Starbucks now, actually, after earnings. And I know Old Man Hands was mentioning Starbucks earlier, but I am in this IWM short. I did get involved when I saw that clear rejection of that 194 area. We're having a hard time decisively breaking below that 193.70, so I may need to depart here. I got involved at 193.88, so not top wick, but you know, we tried to get it on the back end. Shout out to Neil for that. But I do like, you know, I like the look of this here. I would definitely be interested in taking some profit should I knock it out at this 193.70, at this 193.50-ish area, because that was where we had a skosh of resistance earlier. Or by that I mean support, but I mean resistance for the short side, if that makes sense. So go Russ. He's going to keep rustling to the downside, hopefully. By that I mean hustling. Because shout out to, I know someone at one point, I think it might have been James Dell, saying every day I'm rustling. And I think certainly IWM is in a hustle kind of mood there. Shout out to Rick Ross. Let's look at, I said Starbucks, that was what I wanted to look at. There we go.
I don't even drink Starbies. She calls it Starbies.
Do you call Starbucks Starbies?
I know people call it Starbs. I know in high school when girl was like, let's go to Starbs. And I was like, what is Starbs? And
Guess I'm
then,
old.
yeah, I did not know
I never
that.
called it Starbs. Is it Starbies? The Katina Man is confirmed. It's called Starbies. I've never personally called it Starbies. I call it Starbucks, but what do you ever call it a nickname?
I think
other than Starbs or
maybe
Starbies?
Starbs, yeah, but I don't call it Starbies. I'll just be like, oh, going to Starbucks. Yeah.
Yeah, same with me.
There was a girl that used to work here that had Starbucks delivered every day using Uber Eats, and she would pay up the nose.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Racks,
She was
racks,
dropping
racks, racks.
cash, baby. Katina Man knows who I'm talking about. One of the people he used to work with. Dan the Man Emmons, my wife calls it Starbies, and I cringe every time. Dan, we're in the same camp, my man, because I don't know, I'm not feeling that name. YS, okay, I can't pronounce your name. Marathon Going Wild. I'm assuming you're talking about Mara, not Marathon Petroleum. Let's have a look at MARA. And I do apologize, it takes a minute for Mara to load up on my platform. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, Scotia of time here for this bad boy to load up. It's Darby, says the Katina Man. He's doubling down in the chat. So just give it a second to load here. Yes, we are moving up nicely on that Mara move off that 17, for whatever reason, 1714 low. Is this a key level of support that I should have been aware of? I mean, the last time we touched it was January 26th. That was the low that day. Okay, so we're moving on up. We cleared 18. The closing print on Starbies, or sorry, on Mara, it's 1773. We pumped up into 1845 there. Good luck. We do have key levels of resistance to look at, guys. There was this crest yesterday at 1890, between 1880 and 1890, but ultimately it's this one over here that we're going to have to look at. 1910, Adara, that's the high from yesterday. But I just noticed that we are overtime now. We didn't even restart the lesson. So excited was I to get rinsed on Apple that I forgot that we do have the lesson of the day here. All right, guys, we are talking today about common gaps. We've been talking about gaps all week, initiation gaps on Monday, continuation gaps on Tuesday, and exhaustion gaps yesterday. These are all pattern gaps. Basically, they represent something, either an initiation of a trend or the reversal or the continuation of a trend. Common gaps mean nothing, and they happen naturally within the normal price action of a stock, of an instrument, whatever it is. So common gaps are fundamental patterns in technical analysis that traders often encounter. Unlike other types of gaps, common gaps don't necessarily signal a significant change in market sentiment or indicate any specific catalyst. Understanding common gaps is crucial for traders seeking to distinguish between routine price fluctuations, I can't even talk, and more meaningful price movements. So the definition of a common gap is an area or pattern or trading gap, and it typically occurs in the absence of any specific news or event. So that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for a gap up that happened without a catalyst. It's catalystless, okay? These gaps are a result of regular market movements and can be seen as a natural part of price discovery. Some of the characteristics of these common gaps are, number one, I just mentioned this, a lack of catalyst. Common gaps occur without a particular event or news trigger. They represent gaps in price caused by regular market activity, okay? So what you're looking for, I gave this example of the Chinese ADRs. Typically, because of how they are traded based upon, Asian traders trading this early in the morning, they typically gap up versus the close of the previous day. And you'll see that often. Look at Li Auto, look at, XPEV, NEO, etc. I'm gonna have to just stop for a second here because Apple is coming right back down. If it breaks this consolidation top, I'm gonna get out here on the break of 80. I'm gonna send it to you, so I just put my stop, okay?
Yeah, for sure. No, no worries. And I think, too, what's interesting is like we were saying, like, I think looking at the context of the chart and like, hey, is this a stock that gaps a lot? Is this like any kind of key area for a stock? What kind of trend are we in? Are we in a trend or are we more consolidative? I think all of that context, if there's any confluence at key levels or if there isn't any confluence, I think all of that can really help you to be like, hey, this is, help you analyze the gap. And of course, also where the gap fills can matter as well, but that's going to be a little bit more after the fact. And I think what's interesting too with gaps, and we've said this all week, is it's not always going to be what you see immediately, it's going to be what you see after.
Yep.
Sometimes what's most important there.
Thank you for that.
No worries, no worries.
All right, so lack of catalyst, that's the number one, and typical size. All right, common gaps are generally smaller in size than other types of gaps, such as breakaway or exhaustion gaps. So what do I mean by that? So you look basically at how big the gap is. If I can show the chart, Ram, for a second. This is a common gap. we don't have anything to compare it to, obviously, on this particular chart, but what you can do specifically is to look at the other gaps that have occurred on that particular instrument. Is this gap within the small range, medium range, or large range, right? So that's what you're looking for there, the size of the gap. And then the frequency of the occurrence, again, is another characteristic of these common gaps. Since they are a part of the routine market behavior, common gaps occur frequently and are considered a normal aspect of price movement. And that's something you'll be able to notice specifically with a particular stock or instrument, is if it is more prone to having common gaps. Again, these Chinese ADRs, they're more prone to having these common gaps. So if you see a gap on a Chinese ADR, automatically you should be suspicious and look specifically to see whether it is valid or not. So 3 characteristics of common gaps: they lack a catalyst, they are typically smaller in size than real gaps like initiation, continuation, or exhaustion, and they occur frequently, way more than the other types of gaps. Those are the characteristics of the gaps, common gaps. The causes of common gaps. First, market noise. Common gaps can be a result of random market noise or small price fluctuations between trading sessions. And again, Chinese ADR is perfect for that example. Look at the daily on Chinese ADRs. This is common for them. That is characteristic of how they trade, okay? Liquidity gaps. This is another very interesting one here, because sometimes there is such a big area of illiquidity that the last closing print and the opening print of the subsequent candle have a big gap, and that can happen intraday too, especially on these small cap gappers, right? When they halt, sometimes they open up way higher than where they closed out at, because that whole area of illiquidity got absolutely consumed during the auction, during the trading halt auction, right? So that's another thing you need to keep an eye on. Gaps that are created by areas of illiquidity, okay? And thirdly here, another cause of common gaps is technical factors. Certain technical factors, such as gaps between daily closings and opening prices, contribute to the formation of common gaps. And that can just be because, you know, the future was strong. So Apple will say closed out yesterday, I'm just giving you a random number, 185.50. Today, the future pumped up because we got a weak jobs number. I'm just giving you an example. And then Apple ended up gapping up by 9:30 to 186.50. So there's a $1 gap between yesterday's close and today, not specific to Apple at all. And it could absolutely get filled, okay? So those are the 3 causes of common gaps: market noise, liquidity gaps, and technical factors. How to ID these bad boys? How do you identify common gaps from the other gaps that we've talked about? Well, the first way to do it is a price chart analysis. What you're looking for there is whether the gap got filled immediately after it formed. And by immediately, I mean like 4 or 5 days after. So look at this over here on the common gap. So right away, we get a gap there. We hold up for a couple of days, and then this big red candle comes in, fills the gap right away. So if the gap got filled, you know, shortly after it was formed, it's probably not an initiation gap or an exhaustion gap or a continuation gap. It is likely a common gap owing to the fact that it got filled quickly. And I just got stopped out of my Apple trade. Wicked, I'm 1 for 3 on Apple today. Maybe it's foreshadowing how I'm going to get rinsed on earnings.
Don't say that. Maybe it's foreshadowing you're going to do great on earnings.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what it's doing.
I'll take that. Thank you for bringing good juju.
I try to.
All right. So that was price chart analysis, how to ID these. Look at the price chart quickly, or not quickly, thoroughly, to see whether the gap got filled shortly after it was made. The other, volume analysis, very important for gaps. Common gaps are typically associated with average or a lower volume, emphasizing their routine nature. And this is one of the most important things when you're looking at gaps. So we talked about initiation gaps having higher volume than just regular trading. Their regular trading days, you're looking for that higher volume day to kind of prove that the gap is real. It's not a bamboozling gap. And then we talked about continuation gaps having higher volume than regular trading days, but lower volume than the initiation gap. And then finally, exhaustion gaps have similar high volume to that initiation gap first. So common gaps here can either, number one, have lower trading volumes than all those gaps combined, or they can have lower or just equal trading volume to a regular trading day. So you have to be very thorough with your volume analysis, and it's contextual. You're going to have to look at that specific instrument to see how much volume is done in the past, how much volume is done when it's gapped, to be able to make that assessment. And then thirdly here, confirmation with indicators. Technical indicators such as moving averages or trend lines can be used to confirm the presence of a common gap and differentiate them from more significant price movements. So make sure you're employing RSI, MACD, your moving averages, as well as trend lines to be able to make the assessment. Is this just a nothing burger, or is there a trend afoot here that I need to be aware of? So 3 ways to ID these bad boys. Analyze the price chart, analyze the volume, and confirm the presence of the gap with technical indicators. Last but not least is trading considerations, what you need to consider if you're going to trade these common gaps. Context matters here. Like Adair was saying earlier when we did this the first time around. Evaluate the broader market context to determine whether a gap is a common fluctuation or a part of a more meaningful price movement. So for example, like I mentioned, Apple closes at 185.50, opens today at 186.50 because the future went up 300 points overnight. Is that specific to Apple, or is that specific to the market in general? And then it ends up getting filled the next day. So make sure you're analyzing the context in which you're seeing the gap. And then risk management. You really need to be able to manage risk when you're trading gaps. And so I gave the example as if I was, bamboozled thinking that this was an initiation gap to start a new trend, how would I play this? So obviously I'd wait for the gap to initiate, to get filled. So right over here, this is where I'd be getting in. And then where would my stop be? Well, it would be on the filling of the gap, right? So when this red candle ended up coming in to the high of the pre-breakout candle, that's exactly where I would have my stop. So make sure you are managing risk when you are trading gaps because, well, you should be managing risk all the time.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think one thing too, what I think is interesting, what I want to ask as well, because I know you were saying you don't like getting involved in some of these small caps. Talk about a type of stock that gaps a lot, much like the really good Chinese ADR example there. But I guess with the small caps, I know you said you don't like getting involved if they haven't gapped up pre-market because then you won't have levels. But I guess, is there what would be, because I know your thing too for entry for small caps is breaking of the pre-market high. I guess, is there a certain level of gapper that you like for your ideal small cap, like a certain percentage? Do you prefer ones that are gapping up a lot or gapping up a skosh?
I think it's contextual too, because remember how small caps come in waves, right? Like you see 4 or 5 of them, one initiates having a triple digit day, and then all of a sudden the next day you've got 3 triple digits that day, right? So these small caps come in waves. So if you're looking at, multiple 3 triple digit percentage gainers that day, would you be trading one that's up 24%? So that's number 1, right? So contextual. Are the small caps in season or at a season at the moment? That's number 1. Number 2, am I trading one that's relatively strong to the ones that are making moves or not? So that's number 2. And number 3, just my regular rules. Definable pre-market high, above VWAP, wait for that 930 bell. It's got to take the pre-market high before I get in. Really, that's all that matters, yeah. Contextual.
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up question to that, if you do not mind?
Yeah, of course.
So I think too with the pre-market high rule, I guess that's what I find really, really interesting. So then, do you prefer if the pre-market high is significantly high, so then you have more of a burden, it has to prove itself to you, or if it's a little teeny tiny high or like a pop and we eclipse that? I guess I was just wondering,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean,
sense.
again, I think sadly it is contextual. Okay. Again, I hate to keep using that.
No, it's okay.
But if we have, if I come into the morning and there's only 5 on my scanner, and the top one of there is 40%, right? So then that's all I got to work with on that day. So if it's giving me 40%, but it's fulfilled my rules. Aside from the fact that it's only up 40%, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have a minimum, you have to be gapping up at least 50%. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you're not gatekeeping them. Okay.
No.
Other than the VWAP.
I'm personally not. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I know too, because you do trade a lot of small caps. I know we had small cap day earlier, but I just thought it'd be, because we call them small cap gappers. I think with your comments on the gapping, I just wanted to bring that up. Also, 2 comments I want to talk about quickly. Live trading by TraderTV.live / I'm pretty sure Ramin saying,
probably Ram.
Maybe it's foreshadowing some Haagen-Dazs for me if Apple rinses.
Look, okay, Ram, let me just tell you something right now. Apple prints today, if Apple prints today, And by print, I mean up at least 4%. Everybody on the show gets Starbies. The Starbies of their choice.
Sean's like, yay.
You could get whatever you want, Ram. $15 drink.
I was like, the smile on
$20
Sean's
drink.
face is so pure.
Yeah, I
he was,
know.
like, so
Sean.
happy.
He gets so excited.
He's like, oh my God.
That's it. Put it. I put that out last time. Didn't I do the same thing last time?
Yeah, I think it was like if it ends the day positive. I think
There
what
you go.
It was, yeah.
If it's up minimum of 4% by tomorrow morning at 9:30, Ram, you get whatever you want from Starbucks within a $10, $15 limit.
So it needs a venti move. We need a venti move from Starbucks. The other comment I want to mention, Magic 8 Ball saying, hey, you forgot about Gapplebee's. As someone who is from a city where we have a lot of Applebee's, weirdly, I really appreciate that because Winnipeg, Applebee's is like one of our little restaurants. Like we had one walking distance from my house. We had one walking distance from my high school. It was, I know they're not as common in Ontario, but they are, they're common in Winnipeg, so I really appreciated that joke there as well. Also, UV the Great / hip hop recording artist saying, fair value gaps, can we touch on this please, Trader TV gods? I don't know a lot about fair value gaps here, but we could talk about it for sure. I think that could be interesting as well. Live trading by Trader TV Live / I'm assuming maybe Ramin saying, I want gelato. So I guess that's the take there. Really appreciate that here. Also, I want to talk about this IWM trade. I got out of this. What happened was I did intentionally, this was an intentional add this DCA here at the same level, more or less, just because I liked that we were kept holding this and then falling back into that 193.70 area. And then I had to get out at a certain point because I was like, we were kind of decisively breaking above that 194. We were tightening up, and then I realized this could have been a bear flag or a bull flag situation, right? We had that big move up and then chopping and turning and chopping and turning. I don't want to get involved in this again unless I have proof it's breaking to the upside or the downside. If we break to the upside, I would absolutely be taking profit. Definitely earlier, but I'd be getting out by the 195.20 area because this is, to me, is such a top. We had that big move up off of this right after open. We had that consolidation in the pre-market. If this is a short, I'd be taking some profit at this 193.40, that 193 area, and maybe saving a piece for the dream for that 192 area, but it would be a little bit, we'd have to wait and see. Why I got involved in this short was because A, I liked the levels kind of on the way down, and B, I did like this pseudo double top at that 194.20. Not exact, but definitely we had some rejection earlier. I didn't get top wick on this. I'm not going to belabor the point. We didn't lose too badly on this in this trade, but I did just want to say, I wanted to talk through it and be accountable and own up. I definitely got out when I noticed we were seeing a little bit of a bull flag potential breakout here. Tesla short, wow, says Health. I like how succinct that comment is, and I think that this Tesla short, at least in the shorter term, pun actually not intended that time, that VWAP projection swooped down. But the thing is, too, actually what I will say, beyond our little VWAP chop and turn, we still have higher lows on Tesla, and it's kind of a beautifully respecting the trend line here. Swoop. Oh my God, I drew a trend line. I'm so proud. Like higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Love to see what happens here. I think, yeah, if you were going to scalp short that, felicitation to you. That's a good look. I'm going to take some water. Also, NVO. I don't know if Zion Lala's still in NVO, but if you are, congratulations. Nova Nordisk. Definitely not a diet move here. Nice move to the upside on this trend line. I got out where I did because I was trying, a little bit scalpier. I got out near the previous high there, which is at 114.98. Well, 99, I got out at 98s. But yeah, I mean, and I love to, I have to say, from a technical standpoint, I love this rejection around, or sorry, not rejection. I love this support and this bounce off of that previous area of resistance, that 114.40. I got out some of the profit there earlier because I did notice this ceiling was holding really well. And look, we bounced off right off that 114.40. Really great look. And this one definitely respecting earlier levels. We had some chop and churn at that earlier area of resistance, and then we bounced back up. Congrats to you if you're in this trade. I love trading these GLP names for whatever reason. Nova Nordisk, a little bit of a smoother trade than Eli Lilly. This one moving off of strong earnings yesterday, and the overall market love for these GLP-1s. James Dell saying, careful here with anything BTC. Let's look at some of these Bitcoin adjacent names now. No, we were looking at Mara running a marathon earlier today. Let's see how Mara's doing. Okay. This is a really interesting bottom of that 18.3, which seems a little bit random. I would say the fact that we haven't made a higher low here, we kind of made the same or low, kind of interesting, and it also coincides with where we had these earlier wicks. Again, though, I've said this before, I always am a little bit hesitant trying to label levels on things like coin, like all these Bitcoin adjacent stocks. They always make me a little bit nervous because I don't know if they respect technical levels as much as they respect their leader, Bitcoin, their papa, Daddy BTC. I think that's the level it really respects. So I find technicals a little bit hard, but Coinbase, I see way clearer technicals than Mara. And what I mean here is swoopity doopity doop. That 128.85. I think I initially identified that 125, 130 area as an interesting range. But yeah, we had that 129.85 oddly coming a little bit into play. We bounce back up, then we come back down and hold it. So I mean, that could be of note, definitely respecting some earlier areas of chop and churn, some pre-market consolidation. Also, I have a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what fair value gaps are? Because someone was asking us to talk about fair value gaps here.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'll maybe look into that. But yeah, I think
it's not something that was definitely not in John J. Murphy's fundamental or technical analysis of fundamental markets. I personally haven't seen it in there, and I read that book twice. I haven't seen it either in the chartered market technician materials that I have. I haven't seen it there. Maybe it's in year 2, but it's definitely, certainly not year 1. So, no, I don't. Maybe we'll look into that and we'll have a response for who was it?
It was UVDA, the great hip hop recording artist in the chat,
nice.
I believe.
What's the name of the gap again?
Fair value gaps.
Fair value gaps. Okay, we'll have a look there. We are thinking about doing an entire week on accumulation and distribution. That's one of those things that's really important, that's being asked about in the chat a lot. A lot of you guys have been asking about that. We will let you know tomorrow what we are doing for next week. But yeah, so many topics, Adara, here that we could possibly cover. So we'll have to wait and see there. The future's looking good right now. Maybe a bounce off here. There we go. Holding that 17,350 level. And it's a hold above VWAP, and we got a lot of stuff pumping. So I'm going to send it to you here as I try to bamboozle a trade. I think I'm going to stay a little bit here before I get in because I got rinsed on Apple twice, so I have to be careful here. Yeah. The other thing that I want to talk about, Adara, was SMCI. Again, back up again. It just touched 75. My goodness. New high of day on SMCI, 575.80. It's coming back into 570 now. We did have an initial level of resistance at the whole dollar level. I'm talking about that 570 level. So could we get a bounce off 570 and head higher? I can't believe how aggressively strong SMCI is today. 575. Could we see 600? Could this name split soon? I mean, if they want to, involve more retail traders, they may have to split. Obviously, that may not be their biggest priority right now, as they're obviously looking to expand operations. Essentially, what this company does is they manage your data center, your AI data center. So if you're buying these GPUs and you're putting them together, in a data center, there's got to be somebody that services them, somebody that helps put them together to include the software, and it's this company. There's other ones as well, like Glob, GLOB, I believe is the ticker. It's not nearly as big as Super Microcomputer, but these are the type of names that are going to go hand in hand with the expansion phase of AI, like with the AMDs and the NVIDIAs and the Broadcoms, et cetera. There's going to have to be a service side to this whole game, and if those guys don't get involved, it's going to be people like Super Microcomputer and GLOB. Let's look at this other GLOB, a Globnet or whatever. I mean, let's look at the daily on this bad boy. Yeah, it's a good-looking daily. It's no Super Microcomputer, that's for sure, but it's a good-looking daily. We bottomed out there in May at 135, and we just topped out the other day there at 250. So that will be a cool 85% move. So they're not as parabolic as Super Microcomputer, but another name to keep in mind if you want to play this AI wave from a different angle. Meta has been in a full state of huadunk. It's found some support right now, though, because, the future's pumping. The future's coming up again. Could we get another touch near 17.4? We got an initial rejection at 17.392 on the future, and it didn't quite make it up to 17.4, so we'll see whether this latest ascent
allows us a 17.4 touch. But this is what I was talking about here at 393 on Meta, bouncing off that low and right back up into 395. So a $2 move off the bottom there. But it does have this 395.50 consolidation range bottom that it has to break through. So keep in mind, if you are looking to get long Meta of this area right here, this is what I'm talking about, 5 wicks into that before you actually break it to the downside. So 395.50 possible support level here on Meta. What else is moving? Apple's right back up. Okay, I'm not trading Apple again. I can't. I mean, that would just be stupid. Tesla's pumping to the high side. Katina is probably pumped about that. And NVIDIA on its way up. The future moving.
Yeah, NVIDIA, I don't think NVIDIA knows a top. I was speculating double top on this one a little bit earlier just because we had a really hard time on our way back up to that 620. I can't even believe I was going to say 624.50. NVIDIA's like, I'm actually 626 is my new level. Someone in the chat was mentioning cup and handle. I'm so sorry, I don't remember who it was, but shout out to you because I think they called it right before we had that big move up. I would concur. And I think that's a really solid look. And if you got involved in that trade, felicitacion. That is a fantastic look here on Apple. Sorry, not Apple, NVIDIA. I was Apple's on my mind apparently. Feeling the poison apple here. But also Microsoft, this little 403 bottom, kind of an interesting level. Not something I'm getting involved in right now, but just keeping an eye on. We had that pop earlier, petered back down, chop and turn a little bit, popped off that 403. I don't know how much of this move could be future related because we're seeing a lot of pops in all these mega cap stocks, so I wouldn't move simply on that pop alone. However, I do think it's notable. Also, I want to talk about my IWM trade. Yes, I know I'm back in the rust. We're rustling again. But my reason for this, I feel a lot more confident about this entry that I did on the short. I think the short, I like the general idea of that 194 rejection, but I should have looked at the context of the move up. We had this big kind of bull flag, and then we chopped and churned. And when I realized we were chopping and churning, that's where I got out, because I was like, Adair, if you don't get out now, you're going to get stuck in the labyrinth of a flag breakout on an ETF. And I was like this, oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Fantastic, Adair.
Yeah, it was a little bit too labyrinthine for me, which is why I got out of the short. But I was like, you know what? As I quote this one a lot, but as 50 Cent and then later Kanye said, go ahead, switch the style up. If they hate, then let them hate. And watch, in my case, the paper money pile up. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, I really like this entry. I got in. I didn't want to get in before we broke out, so I waited a couple pennies after the breakout. Got in. I'm getting out around that 194.75, 194.80 area because that pop earlier was kind of interesting to me. If I had more of a position, I'd probably piece it out. But it's pretty small, and I'm feeling pretty scalpy today. So we're gonna have to wait for that. But yeah, pretty happy with this. Like I said, I think I've been talking about being more decisive, and I think what I've realized is there is a balance between being decisive and having ideas and sticking with them, and where are these ideas coming from? Are these ideas coming from solid technical analysis? Are they coming from levels? Or are they just coming from my brain at the last minute? And I think the planning aspect of that being decisive is, I think, what I'm working on. And I think too, with this breakout at this level, because look, that was a pseudo double top at that 194.22. So I thought, with all of that coming together, with all of that confluencing with each other, shout out to Obi, who will be back on in a little over an hour. I can't believe it's already been 2 hours. Time is flying here on how to trade. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is, I think, being decisive, but in a way that is, I don't want to use the word intelligent because I think it sounds really pretentious in this instance, but I want it in a way that makes sense to me and that honors my trading. That's what I'm going to say.
Respect that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, so like I said, we're a couple pennies away from my point of exit. We're just going to let him do his thing, 21. Also, I meant to look at Starbucks earlier, and then I forgot to look at Starbucks earlier. I guess maybe I need a little bit more coffee there, wink, wink. But I think, I don't know why I winked. It's fine. But I think what's interesting here is I don't want to diagnose a pattern we can't see, but this is sort of an inverse head and shoulders, I would say, in that we had a move down. We're still down on the day, actually, with a little bit of a rounded top, bottom here, that 92-ish area. But look, we had a skosh of a shoulder at that 92.30, and another skosh of a shoulder at that 92.30 after. And then the neckline, which actually happened to coincide with VWAP, I would argue as well, if you're going to call this a head or an inverse head and shoulders. I think definitely an interesting look. What I want to say too, though, for Starbucks, I would be super conscious of that 93.4 level. That was where we were kind of consolidating into earlier. Then we swoop back, we open there, fly back down, and then we come right back there. So I'd be super cautious of that level as we come into it. Congrats if you are in the Starbucks long. That is a heck of a recovery from that bottom there. And also, IWM coming into my area, so hopefully we're going to try to rustle, not rustle too many feathers as we exit this trade here. How are you doing?
I like it. No, I'm not doing anything right now. I just wanted to mention oil. Oil is absolutely tanking, down 2%, an aggressive move there on oil. I'm seeing some stuff coming in here about the Middle Eastern conflict with respect to Biden making executive orders, this, that, and the other. We're not going to cover it too much, but enough suffice it to say that, you know, this might have something to do with this oil move down, because I looked at today's economic calendar and there was nothing here that came in at, what time was that? 12:35 when we started getting that move down on oil. Ram, if you can, thank you. To justify this huge move down. We did have earlier some, I think we had some nat gas stuff earlier. Yeah, natural gas storage, that all came in at 10:30. Nothing specific to oil today. So it just tanked anyway. We'll see if it gets bought up, held up at 74.15, a bit of a hammer candle being put in now. The likes of XOM, ExxonMobil, also tanked a little bit, down 0.5%. You also have Occidental, Uncle Warren's, one of Uncle Warren's favorite stock, trading at 57 bucks right now, just dipped in to, in fact, 56.99, got bought up off the whole dollar as oil makes its way down. Apple, hold on, what the hell just happened there with Apple? Apple's ripping. Apple just broke high day 186.35. The future just broke 17.4. The future looks like it's on its way up, guys. Let me put the NQ over here. The NQ is now up 0.93% on the day. Great look right now for the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ and the ES, very similar, 0.95 for the ES, 0.92 for the NASDAQ, but we did get that 17.4 break, and we are at the 200 period here on the 5, where we rejected yesterday. So this 230 touch that we got at the 200 period yesterday around 17.475, that was the rejection there yesterday. We're right back there right now on the future. So could we take that level, and can we take 17.4 on a closing basis rather than a quick wick up and then a rejection right back down? A lot of strength right now coming in on the Mag 7 names. Everything is curling back up on the Mag 7, even Google included, which one of the weakest on the day, I'd say. Google now is up 1.25%. Goog is 1%. So, you know, one of the only times really that there is a bit of a variance here between Goog and Google with respect to percentage on the day, especially a 0.25%. I haven't seen that before. I could be wrong.
Ooh,
but
that's pretty significant.
Yeah. A 0.25% between Goog and Google today. Anyway, the future clearing 17.4 as we speak, 17.414. This is going, baby. And Apple's pumping up to 186.44 high day now. Everything moving up. Gold is moving up as well, T-Money says. Let's have a look at gold. It's up 0.25 point on the day, and it just dipped aggressively. Look at that buy up on gold. It dipped like 11 bucks, which is a good movement here. Look at the topping tail candle. I mean, hammer candle over here. Talk about, I forget the name of this one. Anyway, it went down to 2060, shot right back up into 2072, 2072. So gold got right back up there as well. We'll have to keep an eye on all these different names. But yeah, a lot of market strength right now. We'll have to wait and see if 17.4 can hold on the NQ, putting in a bit of a topping tail candle right now off that 17.414 rejection. I might be interested in a futures trade here if we can hold 17.4, Dara.
Yeah, I mean, what a look here on these markets. I was saying that in the chat as well. Like everything is, it's been
star.
wild.
Thank you, Aaron.
Pardon?
Yeah, Aaron. I just forgot the name of the candle. Shooting star.
Oh, shooting star.
You think I'd remember that given the fact we talked about it last week, but such is my memory, Adara.
C'est la vie. C'est la vie. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so many. Well, also I think too, Morning Star, Evening Star, and Shooting Star all sound like very similar. So for me, I always feel like I get them like a little bit muddled in my head, so I totally understand. I know Evening Star is the short because it's like, you know, the end is here, dark is nigh, shorts are on their way. I know that's the one I know. I know that's bearish.
Yes, ma'am.
But other than that, yeah, so people were saying Shooting Star, not a hammer. There we go. The other thing too, I actually have a question.
Go.
So I know someone in the chat mentioned this earlier this week, and I apologize. I just thought of it now, and I was like, I want to ask this. So, do you pay attention to gaps and gap fills on stuff like the futures? Or is that less significant for you?
I don't
for
personally
stocks?
look at it on the futures.
I was just
no,
curious,
I don't.
yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not accurate. I just personally don't do it. Daryl, we just tanked here on the future. Big move down on that 17,414 touch, and right back in we go. Ram, if we can show the chart, into 17,380. What a bamboozling trade. Thank God I didn't punch in here. Yeah, what a move down. Unreal. Apple all the way back down to 186 as I see on my side chart here. A lot of weakness now coming in all of a sudden on this market. Could this just be the dance that we do at the 100-point level? Doesn't usually clear the 100-point level by that much if we were going to do the wick dance from the north side. So we'll have to wait and see what we get here. But a lot of volatility in this market. I find it hard to trade today, these Mag 7 names. I've been getting in way too high or getting short way too low. And that's been my problem today. With Apple, it would have been my problem right now with the future if I had, not waited and got in right at that 17.4 touch. Yeah, personally today, I'm finding it hard to trade. I got to tell you the truth. But yeah, that's a bit of a bamboozler there through 17.4. We'll have to wait and see if we can get right back up because it looks like, there may be some slowing in the selling coming in now, holding up at that 80 level. We'll have to wait and see. Nothing for me on small cappers either as I look at my top scanner there. All the small cap gappers that we had our eye on today, GRI, NRBO, all doing bupkis at the moment or giving back their profits. Even minimum, MINM, untradeable for me as it is below VWAP by some margin here, about 50, 60 pennies or so. So I apologize, guys. I'm not in any positions. I just can't find anything that I like to trade, and I haven't traded these Mag 7 names well at all today, so there's just no point in getting rinsed if you're not doing well. So I'll continue to look for different things, but haven't been my day today. What do you got?
I wish I had something. I'm feeling the same. It's been really hard to trade. I feel very happy. I had some nice trades earlier. We had that Novo Nordisk move, which I believe Zion Lala said still in, so congrats to you on that. This one continuing up, and like I said, I think that this 114.40 bounce is nothing to scoff at. So I think a really nice move up here for Novo Nordisk. Actually, let's look at Lilly. Let's look at the Mademoiselle ahead of her earnings next week. Oh, so this one kind of petered out a little bit of that 655, falling back in here. Could be more chop and churn here back at that 634.50 level. She's still not at a milli. Shout out to Lil Wayne. So I will not be involved in Lil Lily over here. A milli for Lily.
I used to have a girl in my class called Millie, and we would just, and it was around the time that song came out.
Oh, that poor girl.
God, yeah. Is anytime she came into class,
Millie.
Millie. So good times. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dan.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm really, I'm just trying to look at stuff, finding opportunities. I will say, too, with Etsy, I was looking at Etsy. Etsy earlier announcing, I spelled Etsy. That's why. ETSY. Not zesty without a Z. But yeah, I think this VWAP projection kind of interesting, but the bottom is too inconsistent for me to really want to get involved here, right? Part of me would argue, you could argue longer term this is a flat bottom break, but also it's up like 8% in the day, and usually flat bottom breaks are preceded by a downward movement. Shout out to Sharif for his flat bottom break moment. But I do think, too, with Etsy, I'm going to get the exact wording of this, to make sure this is correct. Yes, they announced the appointment of Elliott Investment Management's Mark Steinberg to its board. And Elliott Investment apparently having built a 13% interest or 13% position here. Wow. Same amount as Elon and Tesla, which is really funny when I say that out loud. But I think, yeah, the Etsy, interesting look here. That was really, it started to look a little bear flaggish or bull flaggish, sorry, and then it kind of petered out. I mean, we could argue this is just a really long-term bull flag, but we kind of had the peak of this at 8:15. So this would certainly be something if we rebound from here. I just wanted to look at that because I was curious on
Can
that.
I look at this stock for Nimit?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Nimit wants me to look at REVB. So let's have a look at REVB here because, it had multiple good days. So shout out to Nimit. He wants to know, whether he should hold or get out of this trade. Let's have a look here. First of all, we're going to start with the daily on REVB so we can figure out any key support or resistance levels. So as you can see, obviously it's been a down and to the right type name. There we go. This did split a couple of times here, once in February of this year, and then again it split, Nimit, on the 25th. So I think that was Yeah, so that's why the chart's a bit wacky there with VWAP going up to the top here. Let me just get out of VWAP. Studies, turn VWAP off, apply. There we go. Now we can see it a little bit better. So Nimit, do we have any support levels below this level here, or is that $3 touch that we got yesterday the all-time low? It looks like it is the all-time low. So this is a bit of a problem. Let's now look at the hourly chart. What is going on with this thing? Oh, because it split since that time, so that's why it's going crazy. I see. Look, Nimit, I think, you know, clearly I would have sold this bad boy if it had cleared 8 decidedly, owing to this flat bottom over here, and that takes us back to the 26th. So you had 8 hold up on the 25th, the 26th, the 30th, and the 31st, and then it really gave up the ghost this morning, and down we go. We're holding 3. So this is a bit of a problem because, well, it had one day when it really popped off aggressively and continued to pop off during regular market hours. The 31st, yesterday, it ran at 5 a.m. So you didn't really get a move in regular trading hours. The only time you got a move in regular trading hours was on the 29th. And then it basically sold off and made lower highs and lower lows since then. So look, Nimit, if it breaks 3, you got to cut this, man. If it breaks $3, it's been holding $3 all day today. That's clearly a support level on the day. If it breaks $3, how much more can you take to the downside? Look, you have a possible move back up at, you know, if there's another catalyst, maybe into the 50 at around 8 or the 200 around $11. But if this gives up the ghost at 3, you really need to cut this because you don't know, it could go into penny stock status, right? We could drop below $1 and then you could have that dance where they try to stay on the NQ by reverse splitting, and you know you could have outsized days because of that, but that's a bit of a shot in the dark. You may or may not get that. So breaks 3, Nimit, you got to cut it. I hope you print on something else to make up for this bad boy, and I'm sure you will because you're tough and you're putting in the work every day. So shout out to Nimit. As we were talking though, Adara, the future absolutely tanked. Off that 17,414 touch, and down we go near the bottom end of this trough over here. We troughed out there at 17,335. We're at 17,340 right now, so we are coming into that possible bottom. VWAP, though, a little bit below where we're trading at right now. It's at 17,330. So let's keep an eye to see whether we encounter support here again, because we did before. We did around right here, 1230 to about 1240, about 15 minutes, 1225 to about 1240, about 15 minutes or so worth of a consolidation trough over here. And then let's see if we can hold up at that same level and make another attempt at 17.4. What a bamboozling day it has been on the future and on some of these MAG 7 names. I'm going to keep my eye on the future now because we're at that critical support level. Maybe even an entry into the future here with maybe a break of VWAP would be warranted. I just don't want to catch a falling knife. And that's not my style of trading, so I'm going to say no to that. No, I'm going to say no to that. I got to get the trend, not try to guess the bottoms. Participate, don't anticipate. Yeah, but we are coming into this, we're actually breaking it right now. This consolidation range here in the middle between this skewed looking double top, looking M shape. Well, we'll see if we get a pop back up. Tough trade. Nimit says, I had the same idea of giving it up if it goes below 3. Just wanted to be sure. Thanks, man. Took away all my Jan profits. Stupid trade by me with no stop loss. I'm in at 11.10. Nimit, don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself, my man. We're all going to make these boneheaded trades. God knows I've made plenty of them. Plenty. So you're not on your own on that one. And I'm sure you're going to make it back up because you're putting in the work every day. Mike, what are some indicators used to identify support and resistance? So, lots. You could use VWAP. VWAP's a very, rudimentary one where you can, a lot of people, they start off, one of their first indicators that they use is VWAP. You could also use some of the more common moving averages, like the 200 and the 50. Depending on whether you're day trading or investing, you choose exponential moving average, which more heavily weights the recent price action, or you could stick with the simple, which doesn't heavily weight anything. Day 1 is the same thing, is weighted equally with day 200 on the 200 EMA, obviously, MA. So those are some two that you could use. The other one obviously is to actually look at the price chart and figure out where support and resistance is based upon where it kind of bottomed out or topped out. Practice makes perfect with that because reading charts is an acquired strategy. So shout out to you. Good question there. Dan the Man Emmons, I'm still short from 14.711 and holding for low a day. Shout out to Dan the Man Emmons. We're gonna spin the money there for Dan. Great trade, Dan. A lot better than what I've done today, let me tell you. So shout out to you. I hope you continue to print. Pakistan Zinda Good. That's a hell of a name there. Hey brother, long time. Hey man, let's short this market. Let's go. Yeah man, let's go. But we're still above VWAP at the moment. And yeah, it looks like we're bouncing off VWAP right now on the NQ. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't care which way it goes. As long as I can make up for some of these boneheaded trades that I've had today on Apple, I'll take a short or a long. Don't make no difference to me. Shout out to you though. Superheart, hey, let's go. Let's go, my friend. I'm happy that you're excited there and in a good mood. Jay Lee, offerings are the biggest reason I've stopped swing trading any small cap stocks. It's complete BS and they can dilute you like without any warning. Absolutely. You can get a split midday. You can get an offering midday, especially if the price runs up and they want to take advantage of that. You're absolutely right. You're going to have to be in and out quickly of these. It's not ones that I would definitely swing trade. I never have personally swung trade a small cap gapper. RVSN though made me kind of question that because RVSN was running for days, I think almost weeks. How long did RVSN
It
run?
was weeks. It was more than a week.
It was weeks, right? So I felt bad about myself thinking, I had put together some cockamamie rules, but maybe not.
Cockamamie.
Dan the Man, my first two trades today were stop out for 15 point apiece though. It's been a tough day, no doubt. Shout out to you, Dan. Amma Hamada. What is going on with Zim? It just died. LOL. I never seen it move down so much like this. Let's have a look at our friend ZIM before we send it back to Adara, who I'm sure will start the lesson for the 1 o'clock
Getting
time.
ready.
Ooh, what a move down on our, maybe not our friend Zim here, but
our enemy?
down 15 2/3% Adara. Big boy Khwadoon coming in there. And I have nothing on my news blotter to account for this midday move. Do you have anything there on Benzinga?
I don't have anything there on Benzinga Pro, but I do think it's a shipping name, and it's an Israeli company, so I think it might have to do with that war-related.
Right. Guys, we are getting some, news catalyst coming out of the Middle East. We're not really going to cover it, but anything that is, related, we'll probably mention that again. Yeah, that's a big move down there for ZIM, was hovering around that $15 before. Whatever reason there at 12.35 came in and it was a big boy Khwadoon bottoming there at 12.50, so losing about $2.50. In the meantime, ZIM on the way down. Oh, Zim, is it that Chinese shipping company? No, it's
I think
Israeli.
Israeli, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Actually, you are. Israeli-based company. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So yeah, Zim big move down. We're just guessing here for the reason. So, don't take it as a blanket statement. Adara, the future's got to bounce right there on VWAP. We'll have to keep an eye on VWAP right now with respect to the future because it bounced off perfectly there. 17.330 and counting up into the 17.360 now.
Nice look there. Yeah, I'll get the lesson started for now, though. I know, I feel a little, we do have Obi coming on in less than an hour, but I am trying to trade the Amazon. Shout out to him. I like these higher highs, higher lows. I want to get in on the dip here. I'm waiting. My little toe dipper is ready to go into the water there.
Is the chart pattern distinctly different?
57.30. I mean, it's distinctly high. It's distinct higher highs and higher lows. And yeah, I mean, I am not, the Amazonian, but I like this chart pattern, and hopefully it will be distinctly long. That would be nice because I'm trying to get it on the long. But yeah, shout out to Obi killing it on at the big desk, or one of the big desks here earlier today. Lesson time for education over here. Let's look at gaps. So, yeah, I didn't get like that, not a great, a picture here, but I do have this picture here as an example of a pretty massive gap here. But basically, what are common gaps? We've talked about a lot of uncommon gaps or funky gaps or gaps that require a lot of confluence to make sure that they're really cooking. But this one is just a plain old common gap. And so what does that mean? So basically, fundamental pattern in technical analysis that you're going to encounter quite a lot, and hence the name, as Sharif was saying, they're pretty common. They're not really hard to find in the wild.
Exactly.
And unlike other types of gaps, they don't really necessarily signal a significant change in market sentiment over a period of time, and they often won't even have to do with a certain catalyst. But you have to understand them because it's really important so you can distinguish between like la-di-da normal price movement and something that might indicate a massive shift in sentiment, something that would be a little bit more significant there. So what are, basically these are basically common gaps are going to be these areas, patterns, or trading gaps, also known as, and they usually happen if there's no news or specific event and just regular market moves, and they're a natural part of price discovery. Also, hi, I'm next to the chart. Nice to meet you, chart. But yeah, so characteristics of common gaps, really important here. Lack of catalyst. So usually they'll occur without a certain news trigger or a particular event, and they just show normal gaps in price caused by regular market activity. So like, or maybe like a smaller catalyst, like, we got a price target increase. We'll gap up on that, and then it's not going to make a huge difference in the stocks. Overall movement. It's just one little thing that's impacting the stock. These small cap gappers will do it a lot too. They'll gap up, and the next day they'll be massively down. So it's just, I guess, more normal moves. Typical size is also really important. Common gaps are going to be generally smaller in size compared to other types of gaps, such as breakaway or exhaustion, which we were talking about a little bit earlier this week. This example is a little bit bigger, but just kind of an image to show, hey, this is what a gap looks like. Also, frequent occurrence. Common gaps, hence their name, are going to be a lot more easy to spot because they're just part of the everyday market movement. Things gap up, things gap down, and the market keeps on churning. It's not going to signify a massive movement in sentiment or in price or in how traders are feeling about a certain stock in the way that a breakaway gap or exhaustion gap will. It's just kind of par for the course, I guess. What are some of the causes of these common gaps? So market noise. So it can just be a result of random market movement or something that's generally happening in the market as well. So let's say we get some kind of economic data at 8:30 and the entire market moves and the stock gaps up with it. That's not specific to the stock, and it doesn't say what the stock's going to do 2-3 days or 2-3 weeks from now, right? It just shows, hey, this stock's reacting to what everything else is reacting with. It's just going with the grain, and it doesn't mark the, it doesn't have that, it's not distinctly different in the way that what's the best way to describe this? In the way that these more significant gaps will be. Also, liquidity gaps are important. So it can just occur, a gap can occur due to differences in liquidity between trading sessions. So you have one really liquid trading session, the next maybe not so liquid, or vice versa, and you'll see price variations that can result in gaps there. Also, technical factors. So factors between daily closing and opening prices and just price movements in there can lead to a common gap. So basically what we're hearing here is nothing too crazy. Common gaps are just caused by normal market stuff, which I think was a huge thing for me to realize, because I think I was like, oh my gosh, a gap, and things can gap at any time, and a lot of times those gaps can get filled quickly, and as we were saying, and we're going to get to that in a minute, that can show you the significance of a gap. If the gap gets filled post-haste, then that gap probably wasn't super significant to begin with there. How to identify common gaps? So price chart analysis. If you're looking at the price chart, if you're really reviewing this daily, intraday on different levels, and you can really help see where these common gaps do occur. And they're often little small openings between consecutive candlesticks that aren't going to have the oomph or the major price direction switch or continuation that these other major patterns will be having. Also, volume analysis really key here. Common gaps usually have lower or average trading volume because they're just routine. They're just ho-hum. They're just trucking along. They're not going to be moving in the same way as these more significant major gaps here. Also, confirmation with indicators, right? You really want to see, hey, is this gapping at a certain level? Is it gapping above VWAP? Is it gapping out of a key range? Is there something really important happening here? Are we moving into or out of a key price area, into or out of resistance or support? If not, probably just common, probably not a super significant movement, and it's just the market doing its thing 21, as it tends to do. Also, we have to talk about some trading considerations here. While common gaps might not carry the same weight as other gaps, traders do have to be aware of their existence and consider them when you make your decision-making progress, right? So context is really going to matter. When you look at a gap, say, hey, is the rest of the market doing this? Are we seeing a big move up or big move down on the SPY or the NASDAQ, or is it just this one stock? If it's just this one stock, then that might be more significant. But if everything's doing it, you can use that context to realize, hey, this is probably a common gap and might not signify further movement. Also with context management, what I really appreciate Sharif going over earlier too, is how quickly does the gap fill? That also matters. If you wait a couple days and you're like, hey, we're actually back to this level, probably not a common gap. If you wait a couple days and you're like, hey, we're still moving up, then maybe, as Sharif was saying, maybe you want to enter there and then set your stop loss where that gap opened or closed, right? Depending if you're long or short. And then also, another really important thing is risk management. This is going to be important for trading across the board here, but especially with gaps, because they can be so over the top here or all over the place. You really you might want to not choose to take a trade solely based on the fact that there is a gap, right? So be really cognizant and implement effective trading strategies. Can I actually have a question? But thank you.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. So I think one thing too is, I guess, how would you, if you're in a swing trade, is there a way to kind of, in case it gaps up or down while you're in it, depending if you're long and a short, is there a way that people can be cognizant of that? Or I guess just be cautious if you're trading gappier stocks?
You got to have a stop loss.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's the only way to really protect against that, having a stop loss.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have that video? Okay, so we're getting video ready. Remember when we talked about these new individuals that are joining our team by the names of, let's see over here, what did Brendan message me? They are Jad and Pedro. So we have the new social media team. We're going to show you them right now. Oh, you didn't? I thought you were talking to my ear. You were saying yes. While I was talking, I couldn't hear you. There we go. Here we not go. Or not. Okay. Oh, I just heard Fabian say, here we go. Okay. All right. To you, I see. My mistake. All right. Well, I'm having a dialogue here with Ram that nobody can listen to. It's all good. Let's see what else we got here. NVIDIA up again into that 626 area. High a day on NVDA, 626.80. So we're getting another pump up here on the super GPU name. What is the all-time high for this bad boy? I know we put it in a couple of days ago over here. What? 635, 634.93, 634.93. So we're not there yet. We'll keep an eye on NVIDIA though. But yeah, it is pumping towards highs again. We got Apple retracing now below 186, but you've got to curl up on Amazon. You've got to curl up on Tesla, AMD, not AMD, NVDA. We'll have to wait and see what we get there. Katina, man, you're still in that Tesla trade off that 184? The Katina man is out of his trade at 187-ish on TSLA. I think we do have that video ready now, though.
We're the new social media team. Of course we're Gen Z.
We're the new social media team. Of course we know the CEO. Hello, Papa?
We're the new social media team. Of course we could live in Toronto, but we choose to live in Paris.
We're the new social media team. Of course our parents still pay our rent.
We're the new social media team. Of course we know little to nothing about the company we work for. It's stock trading, right?
I think so, yeah. We're the new social media team. Of course our local coffee shop is basically our office. What is it?
So
It's so European.
Was that a nuclear weapon that just went off in the background? Dang. It's a nuclear weapon that popped
That
up there.
ending was so abrupt.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, guys, new social media team now, so we're going to have a lot more content coming on the Gram, coming on the Twitter, the TikTok as well. So make sure, if you're not following us on social media, make sure to check us out because we'll have more content obviously there, and hopefully it can be informative content because that's, I think, why you guys are here.
Oh.
Cold War, says Corey2F.
Follow us on X, I was pointing to that.
Say it again. It's not going to
It's
be
okay.
informative? No, it's
I
not
just
going to
look
be
crazy.
informative. You guys should do trading challenge only using reversing buttons? What does that mean? Janesh, explain. Anyway, NVIDIA high of day. And while we were talking, NVIDIA printed a new high of day. Oh, baby, here comes 627 on NVDA. Maybe we should be looking at that And you also have Intel moving up here. I had Intel on my trading screen from yesterday, but it's not doing NVIDIA things. Well, how many stocks really are? Here comes 627 on NVIDIA now, looking to take 2%. Some size here at the whole dollar level, not awfully big or anything, showing about 37 lots. If we can break through that whole dollar level, not quite yet, as we do encounter a little bit of resistance there to be expected on a day like this when the market's not really jettisoning up, but yet NVIDIA is. So look, we're looking here for strength. We do have a bit of a gap, obviously, here, not a gap, but a bit of a void between the current price action and the high of day. We just finished telling you it was around 635. So if NVIDIA gets going, it can really get going here. And we can, I don't think 630 is out of the realm of possibility if this thing starts squeezing. Keep in mind that we had a 1650 low today. So 1650 was the low, and we're well above that now. $11 clear of that level. So it's another $3 really. So we'll have to keep an eye on NVIDIA as it is encountering resistance right now at the whole dollar level, and everything else is really not participating in this move up. It's really NVIDIA here, and I'm looking at my other Mag 7 names, and they're not participating as well. You have Apple on the way down. So is Meta, Google, surprise, surprise there. It's really Tesla that's holding up at this level, but it's only marginally green on the day right now, TSLA, as it does that dance with that 187 and say a quarter, which was yesterday's closing print. So we'll have to wait and see whether NVIDIA can solely kind of, help stimulate some of the market move to the high side here. Big, or not big day, but decent day for NVIDIA here, up almost 2%, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, go NVIDIA. If you're in that long, you're certainly in for a win NVIDIA there. I have to say, congrats to you. Like I said, I was interested in getting long Amazon, but we never got filled there at that 157.30 area. I like that we did not make this higher high, though. We're holding pretty well at this 157.70, really small position, trying to take some of it out of that 157.40 in case we do make a higher low here and we get a little bit compressy, because I want to be cognizant of that. But I do like, I like the concept of this Amazon short. If we decisively break out of this range, if we're talking like 157.85, 157.90, I'm going to have to say au revoir. But I do like the look of this. I like that we had this wick here with these sellers or buyers overwhelming sellers, sellers overwhelming buyers. What am I saying? I like this look. I'm going to stay in this for the time being. Also, IWM still on my radar. I'm really sad I missed the long on this. I contemplated getting in, and I was like, no, Adara, wait longer. It could fall through. No, it bounced back up. I don't know why I sounded like a Stepford wife there, but 80 and holding that pretty well. Also like that they're coming lower by 20 cents each time as a pattern person. That's something I enjoy. If we continue this 194.80 rejection, I would not be taking it beyond that 194, because that 194 area does scare me just a skosh. But Sharif is saying pump it. So it looks like the market is pumping.
It's not pumping. At least I'm out of the red where I was on this future trade. There we go. We got a fill. Okay, nice little 10-point winner there, Adara, as we did bounce up a little bit here on the future, owing to that monster NVIDIA break that we just got through 627.
I'm sorry.
I love it. It's all good. It didn't hurt me. I'm not the one wearing headphones. Oh. But yeah, there goes 627, baby, on NVDA. Can we hold this level? It's not like a level that, we've been looking at for a while. It is one that we initially had trouble breaking through, and looks like we're having trouble staying above at the moment. So the bamboozlement continues on the first day of the month, but nonetheless, we did get that print for a 10-point winner right now on the NQ. Looking for another possible move up here into that 17.4 area, as we did put in that higher low, and looking for maybe another move. Anyway, stop out with this will have to be the break of 17.360, because that's where it based out last time. If it pops up and breaks that level, then I want no part of this trade. Not much else to report on, guys. Anything that you guys are looking at? T-Money says buy gold. He's been yelling about gold, I guess, the majority of the show, because, well, it had a nice move up, but it's coming down a little bit now off that high. 2083, it's at 2071. Jeeb says DWAC's moving, so we'll have a look at DWAC. I didn't think it was moving on the day. Let's bring in the side chart over here. Let's have a look at DWAC. So DWAC's not doing much on the day, guys. It's up, well, not bad, 6 1/5%. Yesterday it closed off at that $38 level. We're at $40 right now. So DWAC not giving up that move as aggressively as maybe some people would have thought. I mean, like, look at this. Before we broke out there, we were at 17 bucks for a while there on DWAC, 17.50, 17 a third. Then came in January 16th, the beginning, I guess, of some of these. I don't know if that was the beginning. That was the first primary, the Iowa primary, and then the New Hampshire. Was it? The Katina man says it was. Yeah. So this was probably the Iowa primary. This looks like the New Hampshire primary there because you had a decided gap open there on the future. And, well, looks like we topped off at that 57.5. We haven't given back the majority of the move. In fact, we've been staying above that key resistance level at, like, say, 27.5, which is where we crested off at January 17th. So holding up, not bad here. And since it made that 3-day move down, bottoming here on January 25th, it's been putting incrementally higher lows, right? So not the kind of vigorous move that we got first time around, but there is a bit of an upward channel to be had here on DWAC. So it's not a bad look since that rejection off that 57.50 level. We'll have to see what DWAC brings. We're just getting started here, guys, with respect to this election. So we're just wetting our beak, so to speak. There could be a lot more movement for DWAC depending on what happens during this election cycle. So many things are different in an election year. Do you know that the Fed has to actually consider whether they're too close to the election and whether it should cut rates or not because they don't want to influence the election? So the closer we get to the November election, the more hesitant they are to cut rates or increase rates, depending on the situation, obviously, because they don't want to be that political influence. Yeah,
that's crazy. They don't want to be a deciding factor.
Yeah, election years often have different variables than non-election years, and that's just one of them. This is another one here where you get DWAC, which is obviously connected to one individual that's making moves. So quite frankly, we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the year brings. Still involved in this futures trade. It hasn't given up the ghost quite yet, but it's not moving up with the same vigor that it was initially, especially on these moves here. So if it gives up the ghost, I don't want to get cut up more than I already am. If it breaks 17.360, I'm out. Looking for a move into 17.4 though. Adara.
Yeah, appreciate the shout out there, I guess. Good times. Yeah, no, I think DWAC has certainly been a crazy one. I had no idea that was moving either, but of course it is because this whole market has been in a frenzy. What a time. This Amazon short was working. I set my Beekwetter literally 4 cents too high. Also, that reminded me, I really like that you use Beekwetter like as an analogy for what's happening with DWAC as well. Like, this is just the Beekwetter for what we're going to see later. I appreciated that. And we're always,
I mean it, though. I mean, we are just getting started in the election cycle.
Yeah, that's
We've only had 2 primaries so far, right?
And there's way more to come.
Yeah.
And I just think it was a good
Super
analogy is what I
Tuesday.
mean. Yeah.
Do you know what the Super Tuesday is? There's like a bunch of different states all have their primary on one day. So who knows what that Super Tuesday is going to bring? I mean, for DWAC and for Funware and for Rumble and all the other interesting names that we've been trading lately. Yeah, fantastic. I mean,
that's really
the more
cool.
catalysts we get, the better, quite frankly. So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be certainly an exciting time. I'm sure DWAC will, or Rumble will all get rumbling on that, I am positive. Also, yeah, it's always really sad when you end up setting your profit taker a couple cents shy of where it ends up going.
What happened? You look sad.
I was at 157.40 because I liked that we had this consolidation there earlier, right? And I liked that it was slightly above the other high because I know we had a slightly lower high, so I was thinking this low might be slightly higher.
Right.
We were 4 cents shy of where I had that Beekwetter. Now I don't want to say curling back up, but we're not going any further down. I don't know, I mean, I know Obi is like the Amazon
He's the Amazonian.
king here. He is the Amazonian. He definitely has a better sense of levels than I do. I'm worried we're kind of coiling up to the high side here, but really small share size, getting out if we do get above that 157.85, 157.90. As I've said here, but it's always sad when you set your profit take and you have the right idea, but the execution is just slightly amiss.
All right, we're pumping here on the future, Darrow. Looks like we're making our way possibly into 17.4 again. I've wet my beak again here at 92.25. I'm going to wet my beak probably in front of 400 if we make it up to 400. Again, contingent upon price action, of course. We'll see if we get a decided break and hold of 400 or whether it's just a perfunctory break and then right back down again we go, which is what happened last time. I mean, look at this. This initially here wasn't a 400 touch, but it came awfully close into 92s. This was the 400 break when we got into 412, and that's where Dan the Man Emmons instituted his short at 411. He printed on that. Here we come again into 17.4. We're going to wet our beak here a little bit, Adara, to de-risk a little bit. We're coming into 4 again. Bam, bam.
Let's see if we can get that move into high a day. High a day is at 17,414. I'm being told in the chat that SMCI is also pumping again, and more surprised. I could not be less surprised. I'll put it that way, okay? Because this thing has been an absolute rocket today. Let's look at the 5-minute quickly on SMCI. 576.82. Everything above 576.82 is going to be all-time high on SMCI, as this thing has had a day from over here, which is the 9:30 a.m. low, to the high. We are up 8.75% today on SMCI, based upon where we closed out yesterday, which was just a smidge below that 530. 529.80-ish is where we closed out on SMCI. There is no new catalyst for this today, guys. It's just people adding to the position. I've explained why this company is important. It is essentially the service side of AI. So when you build your AI data centers, somebody's got to service them, somebody's got to put them together, make sure that they're functioning, make sure that the software, everything is cohesive with the different servers. And this company, as well as some others, GLOB, if you're looking for an alternative, as well as some others, I'll mention, I forgot them though, I'll bring them on Monday or tomorrow. These are some great names to play the other side of AI, the service side, rather than the hardware side of AI. Fantastic name, and it's been showing it through its price action. Quite frankly, almost up to 9%. Do we see double digits for this bad boy? Up 103% year to date now. SMCI, we just barely closed out January yesterday, and this thing is already over 100%, and we just got another 17.4 touch here on the future. So now we're going to set up beak wetters above 17.4. We're going to sit at 525, because what is life without whimsy?
Nothing. Life is nothing without whimsy, and these markets certainly feeling whimsical today. Up, down, all around, sideways. Actually, not much sideways. It's pretty much just up or down. Not a lot of chop and churn today on these markets, no. I do have to tell you. Some people mentioning AMD short also. I am still in the Amazon short. It's not really giving me a reason to leave. We haven't broken out of that area. It's getting a little dicey, mind you, but we're still within my area of interest. Really small position, about 15-cent leeway. We're chilling in here. I have a beak wetter at the ready, and I've set it at a more reasonable position than my previous beak wetter. RIP that 4-cent miss, because I was a little sad. But yeah, I like this look.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. It's okay. The markets will do what they do. They don't care about my feelings, and that's okay. We're just gonna brush off those shoulders, and well, that's true, anyone's feelings, and just let Amazon do what it does. Roger saying, don't trade patterns today, dude. Play price action, support, and resistance. Yeah, that's a pretty clear point too, right? Like where are we seeing support? Where are we seeing resistance? I do think that this was a bit of a price pattern chart move. However, there was, I think, and I like too getting in here, because look at this area that we had earlier. We had some chop and churn around that 157.80, a little bit of, I guess, a flag pattern here. Burst up, then we came up to it, tested it, went down, and we were generally, like I said, I was initially considering Amazon as a long here, but then or not here, but at that 157.30 area, because we did have those higher highs, higher lows. Then though, we had this rejection with this big candle wick to the upside and then movement down, and then we could not get past that high. We could not make a higher high. So that part of me was worried about a flat top break, but we really haven't had much to support that. Beyond that chop and churn, like I said, I might have to get out of this. It's getting a little bit dicey, but we're holding that 157.80 pretty well. It's just always frustrating when you're like, 4 cents away from a fill, you know what I mean? But I think this is interesting. Also, why I set my area there was I did like this earlier pre-market spike up and then move back down in this kind of chop and churn we've had around that level. Not to mention that was around more or less where that previous high was. We're out of Amazon, expedited delivery, not the Amazonian, but I tried here. Also, what I want to talk about too is I'd like to say a quick thank you here to our lovely sponsors at Benzinga Pro. Una momento. Let my Benzinga get set up here. This one I was looking up Zim, but you can look up anything. It has news coming in, options, everything like that. And if you sign up today, you can get 50% off their premier news and research platform for retail traders. All you have to do is use the code TTV, capital letters. That is TTV, capital letters. Use the link in the description to go to the checkout. So many cool features. I can just look up a stock and be like, what's it doing? It's a really neat feature. and I really grateful to them always. Also, Amazon now falling from grace. I do agree with some people saying it might have been an ascending wedge that did make me a little bit nervous, but we've now fallen below that lower low. So I mean, this could just be the NQ tanking in general. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
God I had to stop,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's fine. Down we go on the future. Yeah, this is nuts, man. Today, if I wasn't on the show, I would have just been absolutely not touching the keys today, that we don't have continuity. And I think it was Ivan Computernet or whatever. He's like, be careful with the possible head and shoulders coming in on the future. And we looks like we have, a possible head and shoulders coming in here. We're not going to get confirmation of that until we really break the neckline here aggressively, but it looks like we're well on our way anyway. Down we go again through 17,350. So thankfully, de-risked over here. Took a small loss on that last piece over here. I only had one more anyway. So ends up being a profitable trade. Pleased with this trade. But yeah, definitely would have appreciated some more continuity through 17.4, but alas, it was not to be, and everything just came down right now, guys. We're gonna have to keep an eye on some of these geopolitical issues, because something tells me that this probably has something more to do with geopolitics than it does right now with the market. So I'm just keeping my eye here on some news sites to make sure we know what's going on. Okay, yeah, nothing specifically with that, but Apple did break VWAP for the first time essentially since the DIB low, okay? VWAP was held by Apple all day for the exception of that break at 9:30. That was it. And now we've broken VWAP here on Apple decidedly, unless we get bought up and move back up again, which would be super bamboozling. We got into that 185.25. We're right back up, though, into 185.5. But that was the first time Apple did break VWAP on the day. With this obvious top here at 186.25, it looks like on Apple, very consolidative, though. You have to say today on Apple, as people are buying it off VWAP, maybe in anticipation of earnings, and they want to get a better price before it spikes. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, I think the majority of the market participants are waiting for earnings really before deciding to get heavily into this one. Anyway, it broke for the first time, and it's possibly on its way down. We'll have to wait and see. The other one that just broke down again, Google, trying to hold that bottom that it made earlier at that 140.83. It's at 140.90. So it's awfully close to the low day. Google down and to the right. It continues to bleed after that earnings miss. Look where it was. This was Tuesday, and we are now down on the day. We're still very much an inside day, though. Look at yesterday's price action. We're engulfed by yesterday's price action. We have neither broken the lows nor broken the highs for Google. And today has been one of those days where Google and Google were a little bit different in how much they were up on the day. I think Google was 1.25% at its height, and Goog was only 1%. So it was one of those rare times where you see price diverging between the two alphabet names there. Microsoft, though, I gotta tell you, been interesting here. This 403 level has been an interesting area of support on Microsoft, and VWAP has been an obvious area of resistance at that 405. Every time it's dipped in around there, basically since it broke down at around 1045, it's held up at that 403 and rejected off VWAP. So Microsoft, even though it's up 1.5% on the day, it's been awfully consolidative since around 1030, 1045 or so. What else we got here? TSLA has been doing the dance with 188. It's now back down into VWAP. This could be an interesting buying opportunity here on Tesla. It did hold up initially at VWAP at around 105. It's right back down there now, holding, not printing below VWAP, by the way. VWAP on my chart, 186.89. The wicks into 188. When they have come in, they've all sold off, and that started essentially around over here, around 1015. All the wicks into 188 have been sold off, and I don't know why that's a specific level, but it is a level that we have, you can clearly observe here. 188 seems to be a resistance level on TSLA. The future still near the lows. Now, I wonder if, obviously this does look like, it's forming a head and shoulders, this and the other. That's not really the important part here. The other part that I want to that I'm thinking out loud about is another possible dip trade at VWAP. Last time around, when the future got into VWAP, it was bought up aggressively, and you got about a nice 70-point move off that. So right now, it's not making its way quite down into VWAP, 17,331, where VWAP is. It's in the 50s at the moment. So that's another decision I have to make. If it dips into VWAP, do I put an order in and around there to get a dip trade? We'll have to wait and see what we get with the price action there. Nothing more for me to mention, Adara. What do you got over there?
Yeah, I got back in this IWM because I was just watching this 194.70 rejection. I'm getting a little bit nervous, but every time we touch this, we push off. So I did DCA in a little bit. Again, like planned, just kind of if we hold this level, I shall dip my toe back in. We've held this like a rock, which I'm really happy with. If we get into that 194.50, I'm taking some out because I know that's an area we're kind of topping and turning around earlier. Look at this little candle to the downside here. But like I said, the main thesis here was lower highs, lower lows, our inability to decisively break above that 195 area. Look at all these like failed wicks, like, you know, you've got sellers overwhelming buyers. I just like the look of this for the time being, and so I'm going to be in this trade. That is my story, and I will in fact be sticking with it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting too when you were talking about Tesla, like 180s. It's crazy to think about Tesla and Apple trading around the same price. Like they're both in like those 180 ranges, which is nuts.
It'll move like $5 like that though. It'll take Apple an eternity to move because obviously it's a much bigger market cap and it requires a lot more money to move the same amount. Notionally, obviously, it's not moving market cap the same amount. But yeah, Tesla can move from 195 into 180 in a span of a day. That'll take Apple like 2 weeks, unless it's on earnings or something.
Yeah,
Big Kyle Burdett there, 199 super chat, yelling to me, Sharif Apple. And yeah, I just finished talking about it, Kyle. We did break VWAP for the first time today since essentially the IB low there on Apple. And well, we're below it right now. We're dipping right off that 185 and a quarter. We are below VWAP, so this could be the start maybe of the move down. The other thing there, short smeller, telling me Tesla, the 188 level is the bottom of the opening range, and he could not be more accurate. And this is what he's talking about over here. So this is the first candle at 9:30, and look at that, 188 bottom. All these wicks were bought up essentially. Initially is what I'm looking for. And then you gave up the ghost there, and then obviously support now acting as resistance on TSLA. That is until it's not. So TSLA definitely still holding VWAP here. So there could be something interesting here on Tesla, especially if we get pumping to the high side. Holding that 17,350 right now on the future. So looks like it's bouncing back up. A lot of volatility today. Wow. Tough day to trade for me. Super tough because there's no continuity. It's super range bound, and that's where I do the worst. The worst. Range bound days like this. It's just tough for me to trade these days.
Yeah, I
because I'm always a
understand.
momentum trader, right? Not a range trader. And so when we get caught within this range, I typically look for breakouts or breakdowns and then basically getting long or short at the extremes, and I end up getting rinsed. Literally, that's what happens. And that's what I've noticed about my trading style personally on these inside days is when I do the worst. Very choppy, says Elon. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Pakistan, Zina Good, Sharif, we need to add Miss Adara to the Trader TV website as a host. I'm pretty sure she's on there. I'm not sure. I will let the appropriate individuals know. Thank you for letting me know that. The other one here, M. Allen, says crude is bouncing. Yeah, you're right. Crude was down on the day, 74. Now it's back up at VWAP at 75.70. Good eye there, by the way. Crude, we're still not sure why crude was selling off like that. We think maybe it has something to do with the geopolitical issues that broke midday, but it looks like it's getting bought up right now. This is the break-even point right here on the future. This is where it closed out yesterday on West Texas Intermediate, right at that 75.85 level, and now we're encountering resistance right there. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can break through that. I personally don't want to see anything higher than 75 bucks on crude. That is because you drive a V8, you'll know exactly what I'm going through right now. No, but seriously though, all kidding aside, I don't want to see crude go up again because that's going to obviously have an effect on the headline number on inflation, and that's probably going to postpone cuts. So if we do get a big move up on crude in general, that may affect the interest rate projections. Look at the future right back off that low. My goodness, this is so bamboozling. Yeah, this is definition of an inside day, man. You play these ranges. You play these ranges. That's really all that it comes down to. And I don't do it well, so I suck.
Yeah, I like ranges, but it's hard. Things fall out of ranges, and then you're just over here struggling to get out. We did break slightly above that 195 area here, so I got out most of the position. I only got part filled, and I'm struggling with these. I need to figure out my key situation because it's a little bit. My key situation is a little bamboozling because I feel like I don't always really know what they all do here, and I don't really think I have my flattened key set up. So that's sometimes a little bit stressful in these situations.
You're getting a lot of requests there, Adara. I have to read these out to you.
I didn't
So
see those.
Super
Thank you.
Heart, Miss Adara, please let us die happy men and give me Super Heart a shout out. We are war. And then you got another one over here. Miss Adara, please shout out so I can die a happy man.
Shout out to you, Super Heart. There we go. We got out of this this IWM. This one was a little bit of an L here, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, thank you to the support for people.
You're getting a lot of love
In
there
the chat, yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I wasn't aware. I was just like dying over
All
this
good.
this IWM situation. But yeah, I probably
How
got
is that
involved a little
trade
bit too
going?
early. I had to get out. I did DCA in when I saw that that kind of failure. And it looks like we might fail this 195 again, but I was like, for risk management purposes, I had to get out. The really bamboozling, to borrow a word from Sharif here, moment here. It's been going well. And then kind of not that. This one trade was really nice. We just kind of couldn't master it on the way back down, but that's all right. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for the support. Really appreciate that. Yeah, very, very kind. And we shout out to everyone. And sorry, I was a little bit distracted there. Just IWM
Yeah,
was
you gotta do what you gotta do on the
IW
trade.
murdering my account. But yeah, no, I think yeah, thank you so much to everybody here. If there's any stocks people want to take a look at here, I would love to do so. I think someone was mentioning Mara. Mara and Plug we'll look at. Let's do it. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Sorry for the brief shout out there. I was just watching my dreams die. No, I'm joking. But Mara, I'm really distracted. Mara, levels. I like levels, so I'm just going to talk about levels. I said I like that 1830 area because look where we had those wicks, and then we had sellers overwhelming buyers, and that's where we have a little bit of a base there. Then also, look, we come into that high twice, that 1854, and we're basically bounced off it pretty smoothly. So I think that's something of note. I really like that look on Mara, and I'll look at Plug.
I want to shout out I want to shout out Derek S here. Derek S brings in a really good point. He says range trading days, RSI, Bollinger Bands work well on days like today. Absolutely agree. That's one of the things that Adira and I talked about when we did that week on indicators. We talked about oscillators being better in ranging markets and moving averages being better in trending markets. Shout out to you, Derek. Completely agree with you there.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Bears versus Bulls saying on Thirsty Thursday. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Good time. Thank you to Mars and Beyond about the blazer. Much appreciated. I like the blazers. It gets a little cold in here sometimes, and you get a little bit of warmth.
Baby blue blazer. It's not like a Lisa Sue Pepsi blue blazer.
Yeah,
It's
Lisa
baby
Sue
blue
could
blazer.
never. And I mean that, and like I could never what Lisa Sue does because
Why Ram? I just felt like it. She
I
doesn't
love
like
the
Lisa
honesty.
Sue.
But no, Lisa
Yeah.
Sue killing those Pepsi blazers. Lisa Sue's blazers say, I am here.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So I really appreciate that. Go Lisa Sue in these blazers. And also Plug Power weirdly holding a level. Plug Power showing some respect. I'm joking. This 460 area, we kind of come into it, curl down, bounce. Come back, bounce. One more time, we bounce. So I think Plug Power getting a nice little charge at that 460 area. Pun almost as always intended.
Hold on. That one, that was a good one. I give you credit if it was an EV, but what does Plug do?
Oh, they charge. So,
No, they're hydrogen.
They're hydrogen. Why did I think they were charged?
Yeah, they're not.
That's
they,
blank.
They have I think they actually have an engine that takes hydrogen and makes electric power, and then they have one that's directly powered from the hydrogen engine. They have two. I'm
I
pretty
should've
sure they
known
have
that.
two. F-Cell and Plug Power, they're both hydrogen-based.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I really should have known that. Like, I'm literally writing in this morning in the watch list about their hydrogen plant. Like, Adara, what are you doing? But I think too, you know, I think this will be a very important element then, shout out to hydrogen, at this 460, what we do here at 460. So I think that's going to be pretty important there.
Let's talk about NRBO here. I think Nimit was asking me, I'm pretty sure it was Nimit, about NRBO earlier. And well, we were talking about this obvious level here, this pre-market high at 675 not having been taken during that pop that we got after the bell here at 10:30. Got into about $6 and then rejected. So this one, I was telling Nimit, look, stay away from this one unless and until it reclaims VWAP on a closing basis, and it looks like it has here, curling up. So if you're looking maybe for a dip trade off VWAP on this one, it's been respecting it quite well. It's been putting in higher lows as well. Not necessarily the vigor that you get to the upside with some of these small cap gappers. The other concern I have is the declining volume on this one, but it is holding up above VWAP, so we may get a move here on NRBO in the more liquid time of day. It's up 63 2/3% right now. It hasn't been the best day for these small cappers, but there is this other one, and somebody pointed this out to me in the chat, and I apologize for not remembering your name because you told me that you had been talking about this one for several days. ARQT is the ticker, and it's up 17.25% today. The volume is not like the type of volume that we may want for these small cap gappers, especially by 2 o'clock. You expect it to do a bit more than 6 million shares on a $7 name. But fact of the matter is, it's been putting in higher lows and higher highs, been holding the 10 EMA, which is the green line on my chart, quite well. And it's been a series of bull flag continuations. The first one here, 9:30, bull flag, and then you continue up. Again, another bull flag, and then you start trending up, not really bull flagging. Rejecting, though, off 7 for now. Is that as good as we can do on the day on ARQT? It's been a good look. Let's look at the 4-hour. And this is what the individual in the chat, again, I apologize for not remembering your name. You've been talking about this one for a while. And mid-December, we were about $2. And so since mid-December, we're up 265%. It's been a hell of a hold if you've been holding this small cap gapper. It is a $650 million market cap, and the float on it is quite large, 92.5 million shares on ARQT. Let's find out what the short float is. ARQT. It's a good looking short float, guys. For whoever is interested in these heavily shorted names, 30% of the float is shorted according to Trade Ideas. Shout out to the NOS boss and his team. So this one, you know, could be one of these squeeze candidates on a day where it has outlying volume. Make sure to, you know, just to be aware of it because it has been putting in decent moves and it does have a really good short float. So it could play, you know, could have a good, decent day for these small cap gappers one of these days. So we'll have to wait and see. But I just wanted to mention that ARQT, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things getting looks here. I did take this Tesla short, might regret it. Basically, just kind of trying to take this to wherever it goes by the end of the midday because I basically only trade on the midday. What I liked though was this range. We know I like ranges, and I think too I appreciate Sharif saying that like you said I know that you have a harder time trading and when it's rangier because you're more of a trend trader.
Yeah.
And I think too I find a little bit of the opposite. We had to have a bit of a range day. I haven't it hasn't been perfect for me, but I would say there's been some moments of success in just looking at levels and playing off that. And I think Novo Nordisk was an example from earlier. But yeah, with Tesla, I'm definitely not holding this if we bounce out into that 188 area story. I just want to kind of take this to the bottom of the range. That would be the look for this. Just getting at the top of the range, getting out at the bottom. That VWAP bounce, though, does kind of scare me, but how we held at that 187, 80, 187.75 area, I did not get top wick, but that is what the look on this is going to be here. Also, old man hands saying Google catching hands. Is it catching old man hands? No, I'm joking. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. And I think Google spiked up. I see what you mean. Like Google's like la-di-da, short, da-da-da, consolidated a little bit and then shot up. But Google's did that a little bit earlier too. I think Google, I would just be cognizant, I guess, today of what we do at this chop and churn right below at any level. Because every time we see that chop and churn on Google, it shoots up. Like a weed. So I think that would be something I'd be pretty cautious of. Okay. Also, Roger was asking me about AT&T in the chat. And I mean, AT&T was looking really good pre-market, I have to say. I saw the move on that. I saw the upgrade on that. And I saw the fact that we had massive volume on this because we don't usually in AT&T. It was in the top 10 in the volume scanner. And I was like, we gotta give AT&T a shout out if the earnings don't take up everything. And they didn't. So AT&T was in the watch list today with an upgrade from JP Morgan.
NVIDIA is not the only chip name that's pumping here, guys. AMD now is on its way up 1
and almost 2/3%, taking that 170 level with some vigor here. It consolidated at the 170 level for a little bit. There goes AMD. Here comes 170.50. A lot of strength coming into this one. Outsized volume, guys, today on AMD. About 63.5 million shares done so far. I'm looking at the book here, and there is a little bit of size here at the $0.50 level, and looks like we're topping out right now for the moment at 48. We'll see if we get that pump through the $0.50 level, but it's not NVIDIA alone today, guys. AMD is now participating in this move. Here's a look on NVIDIA, 628.40 high. We were talking about this high over here, 626 and change. That's come and gone a while back, and NVIDIA is now over 2% green on the day. Still below that 635 high that it put in a few days ago, but yeah, good look here. AMD, NVIDIA, awfully strong. And as I look at my side chart here, all the chips, for the exemption of Qualcomm and Marvell, they're all green. Actually, Micron just went negative 0.01%, so I stand corrected. But the majority of my microchip semiconductor watch list, all green on the day. And wow, look at an AMD reject 170.50, and there it goes through 170, dipped down into 169 3/4. Lot of interesting movements today on the future. Why Brothers United? AMD will fly if Katina Man stops shorting. So shout out to you there, Katina Man. How does he said, how do you know that, bro? Jay, he's shorting SMH. So the Katina Man is taking the chip short right now, but he's going ETF route. So anybody wanting to follow along, the Katina Man will be on in a minute. Jay Lee, AMD recently released Linux drivers for their new CPUs to enable and use AI boost and software stack. Very good to know, man. Very good to know. Keep telling me stuff like that, Jay Lee. Anytime you get these little technical data points, I love to know about them. Adira, we got 1 minute left. Send it.
1 minute left. What a time. We just got filled in Tesla. I decided to get out a little bit earlier because I was like, we're not going to drop as much as we want to while I'm still here on the midday. Little tiny baby dip there. But yeah, I think this range on Tesla really interesting. I assume if we do break out, we probably would break out to the upside because that VWAP bounce is nothing to scoff at. But yeah, basically, point I'm trying to make is we got
to stretch it.
Oh, never, I thought it was the opposite there. Fun, reading hand signals, 101 over here. But yeah, so nice look on Tesla. What a time here. I mean, it's been such a great day. I hope everyone had as much fun as we did here. Thank you, Bears and Bulls. Huge shout out. The trades were but that we had a lot of fun. We had lots of laughs here and no tears, which is always fun too.
There were plenty of tears on this side of the desk, I'll tell you that.
Well, I had some tears at IWM, you know, so I mean, a little bit of strife. Yeah, thank you. Did someone say hands, old man hands? Yeah, shout out to you.
Hands.
Shout out to everybody. Yeah, I was looking at T briefly for Roger, and I do think this VWAP bounce could be of interest. We do still have higher highs technically on a longer term here. We had that low at that 10 o'clock, bounce higher. We've kind of trailed off a little bit, but we're kind of bouncing a little bit off VWAP. So I think that's an interesting look. I do also think the fact that we had that upgrade on JP Morgan is important. But for now, we're going to upgrade to the big desk. We'll see you tomorrow at the same bat time and the same bat channel. But Sean, Obi, and Brendan at the big desk, guys.
Hey guys, yeah, 2 o'clock as we get into the final couple hours here on what's turning out to be a pretty back and forth kind of a day.